Chapter 1074. The red hair on Xiao Bai's forehead immediately turned into a ball of flame. It opened its little mouth and spat out a ball of flame towards the Honorable Lord. The Honorable Lord pushed his palms forward. The wind from his palms was like the waves of the sea, sending the flames flying in all directions. At the same time, his feet kept moving, stopping at a few key points. In an instant, he activated the celestial chess, causing the aura in all directions to change greatly. Boom! Above the 9 heavens, the majestic power of the stars descended, enveloping this part of the world. The flames immediately vanished into thin air, completely suppressed by this formless power of the stars. Xiao Bai had seen the Honorable Lord in action before, but had never seen him use this move before. It couldn't help but feel strange and hurriedly asked, "What's going on?" The Honorable Lord didn't answer, but silently thought, "The celestial chess has been completed. This capital city is my territory. I can activate the celestial chess at any time and borrow the power of the stars to suppress you all." Seeing that the Honorable Lord was silent, Xiao Bai coldly snorted and said, "It's fine if you don't say it. You think you can suppress us like this?" Whoosh! Little Yu seemed to have read his mind. She jumped out from the side, her black tail like a sharp spear piercing towards the Honorable Lord's head. At the same time, Xiao Bai spat out flames once again. The sky full of flames immediately surrounded the Honorable Lord from all directions. A cold light flashed in the Honorable Lord's eyes. With a point of his finger, the power of the stars from all directions engulfed the flames and resisted each other, causing resplendent sparks to explode. Xiao Bai was anxious. The Honorable Lord's strength was higher than he expected. He hurriedly turned to little Yu and said, "Little Yu, quickly run. Don't let him catch you." Little Yu was stunned. She stared blankly at Xiao Bai, as if she was very surprised that he would sacrifice himself to save her. However, she immediately understood Xiao Bai's painstaking efforts and turned to run. The Honorable Lord roared, "Come back." Of course, he couldn't let a cooked duck fly. The power of the stars converged into one point and like an arrow, it silently chased after little Yu. Puff! A trickle of blood flowed out from little Moon's back, but it didn't stop. Instead, it increased its speed and disappeared into the night in the blink of an eye. Seeing that his attack had failed, the Great Lord was furious and annoyed. If he could control the power of the stars better, he would not have let the scarlet lunar beast escape. Actually, ever since he had mastered the heavenly chess, he had also been exploring and researching the power of the stars. Unknowingly, he had also found a way to control the power of the stars. However, he was very clear that there was still a gap between himself and Tang Jing. Tang Zheng's control over the power of the stars was like an extension of his arm, and he had only just started. Moreover, he had to rely on the celestial chess to be able to do so. However, he believed that as the heavenly chess was perfected, his control over the power of the stars would increase day by day. That was why he allowed Tang Jing to absorb the power of the stars as he pleased. Of course, he could see that Tang Zheng's cultivation was increasing, but what could he do? He believed that he could be like Tang Jing in the future. Not only could he control the power of the stars, but he could also absorb the power of the stars. All these years, he had been exploring. His predecessors had viewed cultivators as scourges, but he gradually had a different view. Cultivators had always been strong, and they definitely had their merits. Why couldn't cultivators learn from their strengths to make up for their weaknesses? Why couldn't cultivators learn from their strengths and get rid of their weaknesses? Cultivators relied on cultivation techniques to cultivate their inner strength, and from there, they could produce inner strength, increasing their cultivation and power. However, cultivators were better at absorbing the energy from the outside world to increase their power. One was internal and one was external. After all, internal cultivation was limited, but external energy was endless. Therefore, Cultivator's power was usually higher than Cultivator's. The Great Lord saw this disadvantage, so after thinking hard and referring to the wisdom of the ancient people, he created the heavenly chess, which could draw the power of the stars from the 9 heavens. Cultivators couldn't absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but could they absorb the power of the stars? After a period of exploration, the High Lord finally gave a definite answer. A martial artist could absorb the power of the stars. It was just that he hadn't explored this path yet, but he believed that with his strength and wisdom, he would definitely be able to explore this path. When that time came, cultivators could freely absorb the power of the stars in the area covered by the heavenly chess. At that time, they would truly usher in the peak period of cultivators, and they would possess strength that was not inferior to cultivators. This was a very big game of chess. Until now, only the Great Lord knew about this in the world. He wouldn't tell anyone else until the last moment. Of course, if Tang Zheng and the others knew about the Great Lord's grand plan, they would definitely be amazed. This was because this was an unprecedented pioneering work, and it was the ambition of a swan. If he succeeded, he would definitely leave a thick and colorful stroke in the long river of history. Looking at the Vex Lord, Little White revealed a smug expression. Seeing this, the Great Lord snorted coldly and said, "Xiao Bai, you're digging your own grave, so don't blame me for this." The reason why the Great Lord had spent so much effort to capture the Red Lunar Beast was because the Red Lunar Beast could absorb the essence of moonlight. This might be useful for the Great Lord's research on the power of the stars. That was why he had spent so much effort. As for Xiao Bai, of course, he knew that Xiao Bai was powerful and extraordinary. However, as far as he knew, even Tang Jing didn't know about Xiao Bai's origin, so he didn't take it to heart. All in all, if he could kill it, it would be a blow to Tang Jing. He wouldn't miss such an opportunity. Boom! The power of the stars dispersed the flames and hit Xiao Bai's head heavily. It cried out in pain and retreated awkwardly. The Great Lord's eyes were filled with murderous intent. His fingers moved and formed a hand seal, and a cadence of syllables burst out from his mouth. Ma. Ni. Just 3 syllables of the 6-syllable proverb were uttered, and the aura of heaven and earth changed dramatically. Xiao Bai's body shook, and it was unable to move. Its body was filled with killing intent and battle intent, and it happened to be suppressed by the 6-syllable proverb, so it couldn't move. A smile appeared in the Honorable Lord's eyes as he punched Xiao Bai's body. Xiao Bai trembled violently, and a trace of red blood flowed from the corner of its mouth. The Great Lord's eyes flashed with surprise. "After taking such a heavy punch from me, you're still alive. You're really tenacious." Just as he was about to attack again, his ears twitched, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. He said, "Someone's coming. I'll spare your life for now." After saying that, the Great Lord grabbed Xiao Bai and disappeared into the night in a flash. After Tang Jing returned home, he hadn't even warmed his seat when he vaguely felt the power of the stars descending from the sky. It seemed a little strange. Could it be that Ji Wuxiang used the power of the stars when I wasn't around? What is he trying to do? In fact, the Great Lord was using the celestial chess to use the power of the stars to attack Xiao Bai and little Yu Yu. His eyes flickered as he thought about the purpose of Ji Wuxiang's strange actions. However, no matter how hard he thought, he couldn't figure it out. He had an idea. Should I go to the Go Club to find out what's going on? He thought for a moment and finally decided to go to the Go Club. As for whether he would find anything, he would only know when he went. When he walked out of the house, he didn't walk far before he saw a black shadow shooting toward him from afar. His pupils shrank as he recognized little Yu Yu at a glance. However, she was in a sorry state with blood dripping from her body. He was shocked. When he returned home, he didn't see Xiao Bai and little Yu Yu, but he didn't take it to heart. After all, these two little fellows usually liked to wander around outside and ordinary people couldn't hurt them. Therefore, he didn't worry about them before. Little Yu, what's going on? He hurriedly stopped little Yu. Little Yu stopped in her tracks in a panic and pointed her claws in a direction in the darkness. She growled anxiously. Although Tang Jing didn't know what she meant, he could guess that it wasn't anything good. He hurriedly asked, "Is there danger?" Little Yu nodded heavily. "Where's Xiao Bai?" Little Yu pointed in front again. Tang Zhang's head thumped. He knew that these two little fellows had probably encountered some powerful enemy. There were very few people in the capital who could hurt them. Tang Zhang's heart sank. "Quick, take me there." He couldn't guess who it was and decided to go to the scene first. Little Yu turned around and rushed into the darkness. Tang Jing hurriedly chased after her. In the darkness of the night, there was no sound. The air was filled with an oppressive and austere aura, causing Tang Zhang's heart to jump. Suddenly, he saw a few more people lying on the ground in the distance. He didn't know if they were dead or alive. Could it be that these people attacked them? The man and beast rushed to their destination. Little Yu scurried around, looking for traces of Xiao Bai. However, she couldn't find him at all. She couldn't help but anxiously run around in circles, constantly growling. "Where's Xiao Bai?" Tang Jing also realized this. He looked around but couldn't find Xiao Bai. Could it have left after defeating these people? Then who were these people? He took a closer look and saw a familiar face on the ground. Number 1. He couldn't help but cry out in alarm. Number 1's body was covered in blood and there was no trace of life. Could it be that Number 1 had brought people to deal with Xiao Bai and little Yu but was killed by them instead? With Xiao Bai's strength, he shouldn't be at a disadvantage against Number 1. Why was Xiao Bai nowhere to be seen? Also, Number 1 was the bureau chief's subordinate. Could it be that the bureau chief wanted to deal with him? Thinking of this, his heart skipped a beat. A strong murderous intent and vigilance flashed in his eyes. If that was really the case, then the situation would become terrible. To be honest, he didn't want to be enemies with the government. However, if the other party really went too far, he wouldn't sit still and wait for death. Suddenly, a few glaring lights lit up in the darkness ahead. Many people rushed out and fiercely shouted, "Stop, don't move." Caw caw caw. Chapter 1075. The glaring light shone on Tang Zhang's face. He narrowed his eyes slightly and stared at the group of uninvited guests who suddenly rushed out. Black muzzles were pointed at him. He did not panic at all because he had already determined who these people were. They were the chief's men. Number 1 is dead. Suddenly, one person exclaimed. The others acted as if they were facing a great enemy. They all checked the people on the ground. Other than Number 1, the others were still breathing, but they were all heavily injured. "Were you the one who killed Number 1?" Someone yelled at Tang Jing. Tang Jing did not answer. Instead, he looked at the other person coldly. His eyes were like a glacier that would not melt for thousands of years, making people feel a chill from the soul. "Xiao Bai was captured by you." Xiao Bai was missing. Tang Jing judged that he must have fallen into the hands of the enemy. However, he was very puzzled. Even Number 1 was dead. Who could have captured Xiao Bai? Could it be that the chief had found some powerful helpers? "I'm the one asking you a question, not you asking me. Do you understand?" The other person shouted angrily. Tang Zhang looked at him indifferently. Suppressing the anger in his heart, he said, "You better have a better attitude. Otherwise, none of you can think of leaving here." The other person was furious and was about to flip out again when he heard someone exclaim, "He's Tang Zhang." A person's name was like a tree's shadow. When the two words, Tang Jing, came out, the other person was so scared that he staggered back and looked at him in shock. Were you the ones who captured Xiaobai? Tang Jing asked with an ashen face. I don't know. The other person hesitated for a moment and said with fear. If you don't say, I'll ask your chief myself. Tang Jing said decisively. There was no use in talking about these things with these small fries. Thus, he strode away. These people looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Should they stop him? They knew that they did not have that ability. Tang Jing sent little Yu home first. The little girl was very anxious, but she couldn't speak. She shook her head and gestured for a while, but still couldn't express what she meant. Tang Jing patted its head and said, Little Yu, be good. Stay at home. I'll be back soon. The others gathered around. They also knew that Xiaobai was missing, so they were naturally very worried. I'll go with you. Wudong refused to budge. I'll go too. The others all volunteered. Tang Jing shook his head and rejected all of them. He said to Tian Chanzi, I'll have to trouble you to take care of the family. I feel that this matter is not as simple as it seems. There must be a deeper meaning behind the chief's decision to launch an attack at this time. I'll go and find out what the other party is up to. Tian Chanzi didn't take it to heart and said, What's there to be afraid of when he's an official? In ancient times, even emperors couldn't do anything in front of us cultivators, let alone an official. Tang Jing smiled bitterly. He didn't say anything and turned to leave the house alone. At the same time, the chief had already received the news of number one's death. He was furious, and the other subordinates kept quiet out of fear. After a while, the chief finally calmed down. His heart trembled as he asked, You said that Tang Jing asked you for Xiaobai. Yes, he said that we captured Xiaobai. The chief fell into deep thought. He suddenly had an idea, he purposely blackmailed us. My men were killed by him, and he still has the nerve to make up an excuse to bite back. How cunning. Is he trying to make me his enemy? He gritted his teeth in hatred. Number one was really useless. He couldn't even catch the two little guys, and even lost his life. Number one was his most reliable subordinate. There were many things that he needed number one to handle. Now that number one was dead, it was equivalent to him losing his left and right arms. Tang Jing said that he would come and find me personally. The chief had a flash of inspiration as he asked. The subordinate nodded his head like he was pounding garlic. The chief's heart trembled, and he hurriedly shouted, Quickly go and summon Yi Xuanji here. The subordinate obeyed and left. He paced back and forth in the room. A day felt like a year. During this period of time, he had the upper hand in the official field. He beat his old rival, Ji Wuxiang's backer, until he couldn't resist at all. Seeing that the other party was about to completely collapse, he couldn't make any mistakes at this time. In addition, during this period of time, he also heard some rumors. It seemed that some leaders' attitudes towards Tang Jing had changed a lot. They felt that they shouldn't go against him, but should instead form an alliance with him and recruit talents. This was a very abnormal phenomenon. It meant that other than his old rival, there was actually an undercurrent surging. It was just that he didn't find this undercurrent. Of course, he didn't know that this was Li Xiaotian's pillow talk plan that worked. This plan targeted all the high-ranking officials. They didn't seem to have formed a faction, but because of the pillow talk night in and night out, their attitudes towards Tang Jing quietly changed. In the past, when it came to their attitudes towards Tang Jing, it was the chief who had the final say. Now, these people gradually had different thoughts. They felt that the chief's approach was too radical and wasn't conducive to unity. The chief only felt a little bit of it, but he didn't understand the deeper meaning. Just as he was in a daze, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. He was shocked and scolded, "You didn't make a sound. Are you trying to scare me to death?" The other party didn't answer. He felt a pair of burning eyes staring at him. He quickly looked up and saw a familiar handsome face. He was so scared that he staggered and took a step back. "Tang Jing, you have guts. You actually dare to trespass in my place." The chief scolded guiltily. His eyes flashed as he looked left and right, as if he was waiting for Yi Xuanji to appear. Tang Jing sat on the chair and looked at the other party coldly, saying, "You should know very well why I'm here." The chief said guiltily, "How would I know? It's against the law to trespass in the middle of the night. Do you know that?" Tang Jing laughed disdainfully, "You and I are both smart people. Don't use these petty tricks to scare people. Save some energy and saliva. Hurry up and hand over Xiao Bai. Tell me what's going on." Seeing Tang Zhang's overbearing attitude, the chief was furious. No one had ever dared to be so arrogant in front of him. He couldn't help but slam his palm on the table. The teacup jumped up and spilled a lot of tea. "Tang Jing, you're really getting more and more arrogant." Seeing that the other party wasn't cooperating, the anger that Tang Jing deliberately suppressed finally rose up. He suddenly grabbed the chief and the chief was sucked into his palm. Their eyes met. They were so close that they could feel each other's breathing. For the first time in his life, the chief felt such a strong murderous intent and the threat of death. His heartbeat sped up, as if it was going to burst out of his chest. His face was pale. He asked fiercely, What are you doing? Hand over Xiao Bai." "I didn't catch Xiao Bai at all." He had no choice but to answer directly. However, Tang Jing didn't believe him. He rolled his eyes and said, "Do you think I'm so gullible? You specifically sent number 1 to attack my pet. What are you trying to do? It's all a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding? Humph, what a simple word. Do you think you can get rid of me so easily?" Tang Zhang was unmoved. "It's really a misunderstanding. I heard that the blood moon is related to your red lunar, so I wanted to send number 1 to invite the red lunar back to investigate." At this critical moment, the chief didn't hide anymore and told him the truth. Tang Zhang's heart skipped a beat. His eyes were filled with shock. He asked, "How did you know about this?" The chief's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that the news was true. The blood moon incident was indeed related to Tang Jing. It caused such a big panic and the government was repeatedly questioned. So it was all because of him. He was anxious and angry, but there was nothing he could do. He could only tell him the whole story. Tang Jing sighed. Du Qifeng said that he would ask his employees to keep their mouths shut. It seemed that with so many people around, many secrets would be exposed to the public. There was no way to keep it a secret. Since they already knew about this, it naturally wouldn't escape the ears of others. In the end, little Yu Yu's extraordinariness would definitely be exposed to the public. Then, there would be a lot of people who would fight against it. As long as they ate the red lunar's inner core, they would be able to absorb the essence of the sun and the moon. To many people, the red lunar was like Tang Sang's meat. Everyone wanted to take a bite. The chief was so eager to catch little Yu Yu that he might have such thoughts. He was an ordinary person, not a martial artist or a cultivator. However, after seeing the abilities of cultivators, his mind naturally became active. If he had powerful abilities, he wouldn't need to rely on others for many things. His interests and status would be more stable. However, cultivation wasn't something that could be done overnight. He was already middle-aged. If he wanted to cultivate, he would have to take a shortcut. The red lunar's inner core was one such shortcut. Hence, when he heard the news, he didn't seem to have much of a reaction on the surface. However, in reality, his heart was already in turmoil. It was just that he didn't tell anyone. Tang Zheng stared straight at him. From his eyes, he had already seen through his heart. He said, "You want to get little Yu. You must be dreaming. With me around, no one can touch little Yu. I'll say it again. Hand over Xiao Bai. Otherwise, I won't be polite." The chief felt bitter and said, "I really didn't catch Xiao Bai. You've already killed my men. What else do you want?" The veins on his forehead bulged, making him look ferocious. Tang Zheng stared at him without blinking. He wanted to distinguish the truth in his words. However, for such a shrewd person, it was impossible to tell the truth from the other party's words and expressions. Should he use the soul-searching technique? Seeing that Tang Zheng was indecisive, the chief was afraid that he would really do something extreme. He quickly explained, "Number 1 is the most powerful person in my hands. He's already dead. How can I catch Xiao Bai? Think about it carefully." Chapter 1076. Yi Xuanji's mind went blank as he stood rooted to the ground. In the middle of the night, the bureau chief hurriedly summoned him. He rushed over without stopping and did not expect to see Tang Zheng. In addition, the atmosphere between Tang Zheng and the bureau chief seemed to be a bit unusual. The guards outside the room did not expect that there would be another person in the room. They did not hear the commotion and were shocked as they shouted loudly. Tang Zheng glanced at them indifferently and did not pay them any attention. Instead, his gaze fell on Yi Xuanji. Yi Xuanji's heart trembled as his mouth tasted bitter, as if he had eaten Chinese gold thread. He bitterly looked at Tang Zheng and said, "Tang Zheng, if you have anything to say then let go of the leader first." Tang Zheng was not moved. He looked around and asked, "Are you the helper he invited?" Yi Xuanji wanted to say no and turn around to leave. However, he could not say that because the bureau chief's intention for summoning him was obvious. It was to let him restrict Tang Zheng. However, how could he have that ability? "Yi Xuanji, I did not call you here to stare. Tang Zheng is going against his superiors. Hurry up and arrest him." The bureau chief seemed to have finally found a backing as he roared hysterically. Yi Xuanji was in a dilemma. In the end, he braced himself and stepped forward. He faced Tang Zheng and said, "Tang Zheng, hurry up and let go of the bureau chief. If he doesn't hand over Xiao Bai, how can I let go?" Tang Zheng said jokingly. Yi Xuanji did not understand the situation, but he knew how important Xiao Bai was to Tang Zheng. When he heard this, he subconsciously looked at the bureau chief. The bureau chief's face turned red as he raised his head and said hoarsely, "Don't listen to his nonsense." "What Xiao Bai? I don't know anything about it. How can I arrest it?" "But you..." Tang Zheng was just about to say the bureau chief's intentions towards little Yu, but when he saw the others glaring at him covetously, he swallowed his words and coldly snorted, saying, "No matter how you quibble, you will not be able to convince others. If you do not hand over Little White, I will not let this matter rest." He was going all out this time. Although the other party's identity was illustrious, he decided to take the risk for the sake of Xiao Bai's safety. The bureau chief was angry and anxious. He didn't expect Tang Zheng to be so stubborn and bold, but there was nothing he could do. Yi Xuanji didn't know whether to retreat or attack. He just stood there like an ant on a hot pan, not knowing what to do. The two sides were in a stalemate. Suddenly, Chiyu's voice sounded above Tang Zheng's head. "The desolate aura has appeared again." Tang Zheng's eyelids twitched as he turned pale with fright. He secretly asked, "Chiyu, what are you yelling about?" "Tang Zheng, don't bite the hand that feeds you. I'm telling you that the desolate aura has appeared again. Don't you want to catch that person?" Chiyu said unhappily. Tang Zheng's head moved as he hurriedly asked, "You're saying that the person from the Ya family who was possessed has appeared again?" Qiyu snorted and said, "If that wasn't the case, why would I be so anxious to remind you? Where is he?" Tang Jing impatiently asked. "Just outside." Tang Zheng looked deeply at the bureau chief and then looked outside the door. He couldn't help but become excited. This person who was possessed was not weak. It was very strange for him to appear here at this time. Could it be that he had something to do with the bureau chief? In fact, the bureau chief sent this person and number one to capture little Yu Yu and Xiao Bai. In the end, Xiao Bai fell into this person's hands. Otherwise, it didn't make sense who had the power to capture Xiao Bai. Thinking about this, he increasingly felt that this was the case. So, he made a prompt decision. He left the bureau chief behind and walked out the door. The other guards wanted to stop him, but they forcefully swallowed their words. Without a doubt, if they tried to stop him, it would be like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Yi Xuanji looked at Tang Jing suspiciously. He didn't know what he was going to do. Seeing that his attention was focused outside the wall, he followed his gaze but didn't notice anything strange. What is he going to do? Everyone had this question in their hearts. Even the bureau chief's arrogant voice lowered as he looked at him strangely. Whoosh! With a leap, Tang Jing jumped onto the top of the wall and disappeared. Everyone was relieved as if a heavy burden had been removed from their shoulders. They looked at each other, not knowing what Tang Jing was trying to do. The bureau chief had a sudden idea and said to Yi Xuanji, "Quickly chase after him and see what he's doing." Yi Xuanji's face was bitter as he declined. Tang Zheng's cultivation is shocking. It won't be easy to catch up with him. The bureau chief frowned and said with an unkind expression, "You're not going." Would Yi Xuanji dare to not go? He wouldn't dare. So, he sighed and chased after him with his head lowered. The bureau chief was still worried. He gave a few glances to his subordinates and a few of them chased after him. The bureau chief looked at the night sky and fell into deep thought. This incident happened too quickly. He personally experienced the threat of death, causing him to be both shocked and angry. Of course, he was still pondering over the key points of this incident. Tang Zheng was an arrogant and unruly person. Now, he was looking down on him more and more. He actually dared to be so disrespectful to him for a demon beast. As for where Xiao Bai was, he obviously didn't know. However, he didn't doubt Tang Zheng's words. Xiao Bai must have gone missing. However, he couldn't rule out the possibility that Tang Zheng was using this as a pretext to make things difficult for him. No matter what, Xiao Bai's disappearance was the key to resolving all of this. The bureau chief was very clear that Xiao Bai wasn't an ordinary person. Even number one died in their hands, so it was even more impossible for him to disappear for no reason. There must be more to it. Could it be that there was another force involved in this incident? Purposely capturing Xiao Bai so that Tang Zheng's anger would be directed at him. This was simply killing with a borrowed knife. What a vicious idea. A cold light flashed in the bureau chief's eyes. He didn't deny his guess. He had a deep understanding of the dangers of the world. Then who is it that wants to deal with me? In his mind, he filtered out possible candidates, but in the end, he couldn't be sure. Although he was called the bureau chief, in the capital, there were many bureau chiefs. Moreover, they were real bureau chiefs. They were all people in power. He was only one of them. He had many enemies and opponents, both in the open and in the dark. Everyone had the motive. As for who had this power, he couldn't guess at the moment. Many people were old foxes. They hid their tails very well and wouldn't easily reveal it. Even he, who was experienced and astute, might not know all the details. He fell into deep thought and distress. Tang Jing chased after the prehistoric aura, but was told by Qiyu that the prehistoric aura was moving quickly, and its speed was much faster than the last time. It was obvious that the other party's cultivation had increased a lot during this period of time. This person has become stronger. We have to catch him as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will be even harder to catch him in the future. The inner demons interrupted. Tang Jing obviously understood this logic. He raised his speed to the limit, and in the dark night, he could only see a gust of wind. He was like a whirlwind, and ordinary people wouldn't be able to see him clearly with their naked eyes. He was a 7th stage Yuanian cultivator, which was a full 3 levels higher than the last time. However, the other party's speed was not weak at all. It had to be said that the other party's cultivation speed was not inferior to his. This is a ruthless character. He definitely wasn't a nobody back then. The inner demons evaluated. Tang Zheng's head moved, and asked, Qiyu, didn't many of the creatures in the prehistoric heavenly tombs sacrifice themselves in the Battle of Zhuolu? Could it be that this person is also your subordinate? Qiyu was silent for a moment, then said, the ones buried in the prehistoric heavenly tomb are not only my clansmen, but also the clansmen of the Yellow Emperor. What if they are his subordinates? Tang Jing thought so too. Without seeing the real person, it was impossible to be sure. We're close. Suddenly, Qiyu cried out in surprise. Quick, take advantage of this momentum and close the distance. Tang Jing thought for a while, and continued to circulate his innate qi. His speed finally increased a little, the scenery on both sides became blurry, and only the sound of the wind could be heard, but there was only one thing that was very clear, and it was getting clearer and clearer, and that was the target. Tang Zheng's pupils suddenly shrank, he stared at the figure in disbelief, and secretly exclaimed, Woman. It was actually the figure of a woman. He never thought that the person who was possessed by the Ya family was actually a woman. Qiyu and the inner demons were also shocked, and exclaimed, It's actually a woman. This means that the person who took over the body must have been a woman when he was alive. A man would not occupy a woman's body, and a woman would not occupy a man's body. No one would have such a hobby, which was why they dared to make such an assertion. Back then, you didn't seem to have such a powerful female subordinate. The inner demons asked. Qiyu was silent for a moment, then said, Indeed, the Ninely tribe is a man of honor. Women would never go to the battlefield, and only the Yellow Emperor would do something like letting a woman go to the battlefield. Qiyu seemed to disagree with the Yellow Emperor's way of doing things, and was rather critical. The inner demons laughed and said, Women are not weaker than men. What left the deepest impression on me was that there was a female general in the Yellow Emperor's camp. Many of your subordinates died at her hands, right? These words undoubtedly touched on Qiyu's scar, and he flew into a rage. Don't mention this woman. Your subordinates were no match for her, so you can't even mention her. You are the great Qiyu, and you don't even have the courage to do this. The inner demons did not let go of any opportunity to attack Qiyu, and ridiculed him. Tang Zheng heard the conversation between the two, and muttered in his heart. Women could hold up half the sky, and Qiyu looked down on women. In today's terms, it was male chauvinism. The Yellow Emperor was obviously smarter, and used women, which would definitely make the current feminists very happy. The ancient times were a patriarchal society, and men held the absolute leadership in both family and social relations. Powerful women like the 9 Heavens Fairy were few and far between, and if she was not the Emperor of Heaven's daughter, she might not have become like this. Not to mention the ancient times. Chapter 1077. Qiyu was mocked by the inner demons. After being angry for a while, he angrily roared, Inner demons, do you want to go against me? I want to go against you. What can you do about it? The inner demons said. Inner demons, I have tolerated you for a long time. This time I won't tolerate you anymore. Qiyu said aggressively. Qiyu, your subordinates can't even deal with a woman. What qualifications do you have to shout at me? The inner demons disdainfully said. Both sides were on the verge of breaking out into a fight. Tang Zheng jumped in fright and hurriedly said, "What's wrong with you two? Please don't hurt each other. Tang Zheng, I have tolerated you for a long time. You rely on your 9-yang saint body and celestial body to imprison me. Hang, wait until I get out. I'll peel off your skin and pull out your tendons." Qiyu changed the topic and pointed the spearhead at Tang Zheng as he loudly shouted. The inner demon said, "Yes, young man. Do you think you are very strong? Wait until Qiyu and I get out. I'll kill him first and then I'll kill you." Tang Zheng was stunned for a moment. He thought that these two fellows had been feigning civility with him all this time. They actually had such vicious thoughts. His anger immediately rose to a height of 3 feet. He immediately stopped and said, "Since you say that, then I'll properly settle this debt with you." With a thought, Tang Zheng immediately circulated his energy and crazily absorbed Qiyu's heart blood. Qiyu miserably screamed and shouted in panic, "Tang Zheng, what are you doing?" Tang Zheng's face was somewhat sinister. "Hang, Qiyu, didn't you want to kill me? I'll kill you first. Let's see who dies first." "Haha, Qiyu, you're done for." The inner demons laughed maniacally. "Inner demons, don't be so smug. If I die, you won't have an easy time either," Qiyu shouted. He focused all of his energy and launched an attack on the inner demons. The two of them had always maintained a kind of balance, and could still attack each other. However, both of them were rational people, and this time, anger attacked their hearts, causing them to suddenly lose their rationality and start fighting. The 3 sides were locked in a fierce battle. Tang Zheng kept on absorbing Qiyu's heart blood, causing Qiyu to almost go crazy. Being attacked from the front and back, he was living a life worse than death, suffering all kinds of torture. Qiyu couldn't bear this kind of torture. The threat of death suddenly made his mind clear. He quivered and had an idea. He exclaimed, "Stop, stop quickly. Do you really want to kill me? We've fallen into the enemy's trap, haven't you realized?" Tang Zheng and the inner demons didn't have the intention to stop. It seemed that they would only stop when he was dead. "Incubus, we've been hit by the incubus's magic." Qiyu impatiently shouted. "Incubus." This word was like a bolt of lightning, flashing across the two's hearts. They were stunned as if they had been hit in the head. Then, Tang Zheng found that the scene in front of him had changed greatly. He was not running, but standing in the same place, surrounded by darkness. He was shocked. It was the incubus again. He had unknowingly fallen into the trap again, and even the inner demons and Qiyu were no exception. Last time, their minds were clear, and they were not affected by the incubus's magic at all. Qiyu and the inner demons were even more shocked. One could imagine the shock in their hearts. The two were silent for a few seconds, and then they shouted at the same time, "The incubus's power has increased again." If it was in the past, they definitely wouldn't be afraid of the incubus, and the incubus couldn't really hurt them. That was because their strength had reached the peak, and they were one of the most powerful people at that time. But now, they were only left with a wisp of soul, and their cultivation was greatly reduced. So once the incubus's power increased, they couldn't even resist the incubus's magic. "If I catch the incubus, I'll definitely cut him into pieces and tear him into pieces." Qiyu roared. The inner demons also roared, "We definitely can't let him go." There was no doubt that although it was just a dream, they still exposed their true thoughts. They still regarded Tang Zheng as an enemy, and they didn't see eye to eye with each other. Tang Zheng quivered. He had been with these two for a long time, and they had helped him in many ways. His guard against them was getting weaker and weaker, and he almost really thought that they were harmless and were his companions. Although it was just a dream, there was no doubt that they were telling the truth, and exposed their true colors. But he didn't take the initiative to mention this matter, as if he had forgotten. Chi Yu and the inner demons also had a tacit understanding, and they didn't mention it. They said together, the incubus's power has increased, and even we have fallen into his trap. You must be more careful. Yes, young man, you must not be careless. The incubus's power is recovering so quickly, it is really beyond our expectations. The inner demons also kindly reminded. Tang Zhang's eyes trembled, and he looked into the darkness in front of him. Faintly, he saw the figure of a woman and was shocked. So what he saw in the dream wasn't all just a figment of his imagination. How could you break through my traceless dream again? The other side cried out in surprise. Ha! Tang Zhang's head moved, and he seemed to be familiar with this voice, as if he had heard it before. Just at this time, Tang Zhang's phone rang. Tang Zhang, according to the information I just gathered, the person from the Ya family who has changed his behavior recently has finally been found. You definitely can't guess who she is. Yan Padian said anxiously. As Tang Zhang listened to the phone, he looked at the person in the darkness in the distance and asked, "Who is it?" Yi Meiyu. Yi Meiyu. Tang Zhang turned pale with fright and shouted subconsciously, staring straight at the figure in the darkness. Never in his dreams would he have thought that the person who was possessed was actually Yi Meiyu. Hee, you actually found me so quickly. Tang Zhang, your power is indeed powerful. There are very few things in the capital that can be hidden from you. A charming voice came from the darkness. Tang Zhang's head trembled. It was indeed Yi Meiyu's voice, it was just that Yi Meiyu's presence was extremely weak in the past. She was dissolute by nature and had an extremely bad reputation. She didn't have any martial arts skills, nor did she have any career. If not for the fact that he was the daughter of the Ya family, he wouldn't have been able to do well. He didn't expect that he would be possessed this time. Whose voice is it? Yan Padian heard a sound and hurriedly asked. We'll talk about it later. Tang Zhang hung up the phone and stared at the person who was gradually walking out from the darkness. He finally saw the other party's appearance clearly, it was Yi Meiyu. However, the aura around his body had undergone an earth-shattering change. Yi Meiyu, oh, no, I should call you Nightmare. Tang Zhang said. The corner of the other party's mouth curled up into a cold smile, and said, Nightmare? That's all in the past. I'm Yi Meiyu, not some messy nightmare. Tang Zhang raised his eyebrows and asked suspiciously, You have been possessed, how can you still be Yi Meiyu? Who said I was possessed? How could I, Yi Meiyu, be possessed? My era has just begun, how can I die? Tang Zhang, what's so good about that little girl Yi Dingdang? You're so loyal to her, yet you don't even look at me. Yi Meiyu asked hatefully. Without a doubt, Tang Zhang was the first time she had encountered a Waterloo. In the past, countless men had fallen under her pomegranate skirt, but only Tang Zhang had disdained her, ruthlessly striking a blow to her confidence and pride. The hatred she had for Tang Zhang in her bones grew day by day. In the end, a large part of the reason why she and Song Yu were engaged was because she wanted to use Song Yu to ruthlessly attack Tang Zhang. However, he did not expect that Song Yu was too weak and was unable to do so. She was quite frightened by that battle and was lucky enough to keep her life. From then on, she almost never left the house. But then, a turn of events occurred. She discovered that there was suddenly an additional person in her mind. This person did not possess her, because the other party's strength was extremely weak. This person was Nightmare. After Nightmare escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, he had been bitterly searching for a body to parasitize, but he had never found a suitable candidate until he met Yi Meiyu. But he did not choose to possess her. This was because Yi Meiyu was a one-in-a-million candidate, the second person she had met in so many years who could cultivate the heart's dream traceless technique. Therefore, he had the intention of cherishing talent and was prepared to nurture Yi Meiyu as his direct disciple. He was only temporarily residing in Yumeyu's body, and then, he would find an opportunity to find another body to possess. Last time, when Tang Zheng found the Ya family, Nightmare was still residing in Yumeyu's body, and had reached the critical moment of cultivation. At that time, he did not choose to fight head-on with Tang Zheng, and after seeing that Tang Zheng had broken through his heart's dream traceless technique, he encouraged Yumeyu to escape without a trace. In the following period of time, Yumeyu had been wholeheartedly cultivating. Although she was not proficient in literature or martial arts, she was indeed talented in cultivating the traceless dream spell. She improved at a rapid pace, and in the end, she mastered the divine art and destroyed the nightmare along the way. Yumeyu was born to be a maverick, and she hated it the most when others judged her actions in life. Relying on his identity, Nightmare naturally did not have a good attitude towards Yumeyu. Pointing fingers and even casually insulting her was unavoidable. Nightmare did not know that this had touched Yumeyu's bottom line. He even imagined that he would be able to teach a powerful disciple and then shake the world with him. He did not expect that once Yumeyu had mastered her divine art, she would turn against him and directly take his life. Yumeyu's confidence swelled like never before. She did not listen to Nightmare's advice and directly came to find Tang Zheng for revenge. Her skills were indeed powerful, to the point that even Qi Yu and the inner demons were unable to escape her attack. Hearing Yumeyu's question, Tang Zheng coldly retorted, "Yumeyu, how can you be compared to Ding Dang? You're not even worthy of carrying her shoes." Yumeyu flew into a rage, her face turning sinister. "Yi Ding Dang is nothing. I am more beautiful than her, I am more powerful than her. If I see her again, I will definitely kill her." Tang Zheng's pupils constricted, and said with killing intent, "Yumeyu, if you dare to do this, not only will I kill you, I will also eradicate the Ya family." Chapter 1078. Yumeyu's self-confidence was at an all-time high. Ever since she started cultivating Nightmare's heart dream traceless technique, she had immediately experienced the benefits of being strong. This allowed her to come into contact with a new world. In the past, there was a very important reason why she had abandoned herself. It was because she was not good at martial arts, so she chose to indulge in extravagant desires. She knew very well that many people looked down on her, but she was unwilling to say it out loud. In the past, she had chosen to be an ostrich, turning a blind eye to it and numbing herself. Now, she gradually had a new goal in life. She wanted to be a true expert. She rose to power and made those who looked down on her submit to her. She was the young miss of the Ya family, and she had a golden body. All the glory should belong to her. "Tang Zheng, if you submit to me, obediently become my subject, and personally kill Yi Ding Dang, I can let bygones be bygones and let you live as happily as a god every day." The corner of Yumeyu's mouth curled up, revealing a charming expression as she spoke bluntly. Tang Zheng was slightly startled, then shook his head and said, "Yumeyu, you've really gone crazy. Power could make a person lose their mind, and so was strength." Yumeyu had already lost her mind to her own inner demons. She thought that she was invincible and did not put anyone in her eyes. Actually, this was also related to the fact that Nightmare had bragged to her. Nightmare bragged about his own heart dream traceless technique, as if he was invincible in the world. Yumeyu was simple-minded and really believed him. Tang Zheng quickly asked what this woman meant by what she said earlier. Why has Nightmare become a thing of the past? Chiyu caught the key point in Yumeyu's words and asked anxiously. Tang Zheng's heart moved, and he immediately realized this problem, and asked, "Yumeyu, you said that Nightmare did not take over your body, then how did you obtain her heart dream traceless technique?" He. Yumeyu laughed, "It's so simple, you can't even think of the answer. Of course it was me who killed this old fellow. He even tried to control me and make me his disciple. How could I, Yumeyu, submit to him? You killed Nightmare." Tang Jing turned pale with fright. Qi Yu and the inner demons also cried out in alarm at the same time. They knew very well how powerful the nightmare was, but they never thought that it would actually die in the hands of a woman like Yi Meiyu after tens of thousands of years. If he had known this would happen, Nightmare Lord would probably have preferred to die in the Battle of Zhuolu. Dying like this was just too humiliating. Qi Yu let out a long sigh and faintly said, "The affairs of the world are fickle. A strong person like Nightmare actually died in the hands of such a woman." There was a lot of sighing in his words. The inner demon said, "TSK, this woman is not simple. How did the incubus die in her hands?" This was because she had inherited the traceless dream spell from the Nightmare Lord. This shows that her talent is not simple. As far as I know, from ancient times until now, only Nightmare Lord has this kind of unique talent. I never thought that after tens of thousands of years, another one would appear. Qi Yu was silent for a moment, then sighed, "The affairs of the world are fickle." In the past, no one would have thought that Yi Meiyu would have such a heaven-defying talent. Perhaps this was her opportunity, her fate. She's still a long way from the Nightmare Lord at her peak. While she's still weak, we should get rid of her to prevent future troubles. Qi Yu said resolutely. The inner demons rarely agreed, that makes sense. The two of them understood the power and threat of the Nightmare Lord very well. Naturally, they did not want a second Nightmare Lord to appear in this world. Tang Jing stared straight at Yi Meiyu and suddenly felt that she was a little pitiful. A person who had lost herself was no different from a walking corpse. Seeing that Tang Jing did not speak, Yi Meiyu raised her eyebrows and said, "Why aren't you saying anything? I'm 1,000 times better than Yi Dingdang. This choice is very easy." "Shut up!" Tang Jing shouted, "What qualifications do you have to be compared to Dingdang? You're not even fit to carry her shoes." Yi Meiyu's almond-shaped eyes opened wide, her anger rising as she hissed, "Tang Jing, I gave you face, but you don't want it. You're courting death, go and die." As soon as she finished speaking, she spread out her hands. The aura between heaven and earth became chaotic, and circles of ripples appeared in the air. "Her cultivation is very high, you have to be careful," Qi Yu reminded. "Right, although she's not a Nightmare Lord, I don't know what method the Nightmare Lord used, but he actually raised her to the Yuanying stage so quickly." The inner demons agreed. Yuanying stage. Tang Jing was so shocked that his jaw almost fell to the ground. He had experienced many difficulties and obstacles before he could cultivate to the Yuanying stage, and this was already considered an extraordinary talent. How could Yi Meiyu have such achievements in such a short period of time? This cultivation speed almost killed everyone in an instant. Qi Yu didn't find it strange and said, "Heart's Dream's traceless technique is very different from normal techniques." Back then, Nightmare Lord's cultivation was very weak, but after he comprehended the Heart's Dream's traceless technique, his cultivation soared to the heavens, reaching the spirit-severing stage. It's just that in the later stages, she was weak, and her cultivation stopped at the Mahayana stage. In the end, it was difficult for her to reach the true peak of the Great Tao. She has only just broken through to the Yuanying stage, so there's nothing to be afraid of. Tang Jing was extremely shocked as if he had been struck by a bell. His eyes widened as he looked at Yi Meiyu in disbelief. In addition, there must be a reason why this woman can reach the Yuanying stage in such a short period of time. This is because she went from an ordinary person to the Yuanying stage. Even with the traceless dream spell, I think it's too fast. Qi Yu added. The inner demon said, "Then what other reason do you think there is?" "I don't know. In short, this woman is definitely not as simple as she looks on the surface," Qi Yu said solemnly. Qi Yu and the inner demons had unique insight and guessed correctly. There was indeed another reason. Not only did Yi Meiyu kill the inner demons, she even used his soul to condense her own Yuanying. The soul of a Mahayana stage ranker condensing a yuanying was naturally much faster than the usual gradual cultivation of yuanying. Furthermore, the successful condensed yuanying would possess many of the abilities of the Nightmare Lord. However, Chiyu and the inner demons never would have thought that not only did the Nightmare Lord die in grievance, he would not be able to rest in peace after death. Even his soul would be used by Yimeyu. Although Yimeyu was simple-minded, she was ruthless and had many tricks up her sleeve. Yimeyu rushed over, but Tang Jing did not have much time to be distracted. He summoned his war soul sword and directly welcomed her. With a wave of his sword light flashed and a brilliant might slashed towards her head. As the two sides drew closer and closer, the scene suddenly changed. Tang Jing was shocked to find that the sword was actually pointing at Yi Dingdang. Ah! He was shocked and quickly put away the war soul sword and asked, "Dingdang, why are you here?" "Tang Jing, why do you want to kill me? You're so heartless." Yi Dingdang pouted and said, feeling wronged. Tang Jing smiled. "Why would I kill you? This must be a misunderstanding." Yi Dingdang walked over and hooked her lotus-like snow-white arms around Tang Zhang's neck. She was incomparably charming as she blew into Tang Zhang's ear and said, "You made me angry. How are you going to apologize?" Her pink tongue gently licked Tang Zhang's earlobe, and it was as if an electric current had instantly flowed through Tang Zhang's entire body. Tang Zhang had a strange feeling. Yi Dingdang seemed to be different from usual. She was not this charming, as if she was a completely different person. "Young man, wake up. Don't be bewitched. You've been hit by her heart's dream traceless spell again." The inner demons reminded him. "Tang Zheng, wake up quickly." Chiyu also shouted loudly. This time, the two of them were on guard and did not fall for Yimei's trick like Tang Zheng. Seeing that he had entered the dream again, they immediately reminded him. Tang Jing felt as if he had been hit in the head, his eyes lit up, and when he looked carefully, the one lying on top of him was actually Yimei. Although Yimei was beautiful, he had a terrifying feeling of being entangled by a poisonous snake. He immediately slapped her body and scolded, "Scram! How dare you turn into Ding Dang to confuse me?" Yimei took a palm strike and retreated, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Her face first turned red, then pale white, and a ruthless aura gradually spread out from her eyes. With a sinister expression, she roared, "How did you see through my spell time and time again? How did you do it?" Nightmare had once boasted to her that no one in this world could break through the heart's dream traceless spell, but the first time he clashed with Tang Jing, his spell was broken and he fled in a sorry state. Later on, Yimei had also asked him this question. Nightmare stammered, unable to answer. From then on, Nightmare's authority had been greatly reduced, and the little bit of respect Yimei had for him had disappeared. That was why she had killed him without restraint. This time, seeing that Tang Jing had continuously broken through her heart's dream traceless spell, Yimei finally couldn't hold it in anymore and wanted to get to the bottom of it. The heart's dream traceless spell is not omnipotent. How do you know about the heart's dream traceless spell? Yimei was shocked. This was the first time she had heard someone call out the name of this spell, so she was naturally very surprised. Nightmare had once said that no one in this world would know about this spell, unless it was those people from the ancient era. Nightmare had said very clearly that some of the souls from the ancient era had already escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb and would definitely reappear in this world. Nightmare had also said that once he recovered his strength, he would contact these souls and recreate the glory of the ancient era, achieving true hegemony. He had also revealed that he already had a plan. Once he contacted his old comrades, he would carry out a huge plan. At that time, the world would change color and become another world. Yimei naturally thought that all of this was just a lie from a nightmare, so she did not take it seriously. However, she remembered the matter regarding the prehistoric heavenly tomb in her heart. Could it be that it was because Tang Jing had also encountered this kind of soul that he recognized her spell? Even though the Nightmare Lord is strong, he was still killed in the past. If you were a little smarter, then you would understand that Heart's Dream is not omnipotent. If you continue to rely on this technique and commit crimes, then the one who will suffer in the end will be you. Yi Meiyu said sternly, "What qualifications do you have to preach to me? I'm doing this for your own good. Don't be ungrateful." He, for my own good. Why should I want you to do it for me? Tang Jing, I'm going to kill you. Yi Meiyu pounced forward crazily once again. Her entire body was covered in black qi, and her appearance had undergone a tremendous change. Chapter 1079. Yi Meiyu changed her appearance, transforming into many huge snake tails. Her pitch-black scales flickered with a faint light, and her head had also turned into a sinister snake head, causing people to shudder in fear. Orochi. She had transformed into the appearance of Orochi. Tang Jing was stunned for a moment, then cried out in alarm, "Orochi, why is it you again?" He didn't seem to remember that Orochi was already dead. The image of Orochi had once been deeply imprinted in his mind. Yi Meiyu once again used the Heart's Dream Traceless spell and naturally turned into Orochi. The Heart's Dream Traceless spell was very powerful in one aspect, and that was that it could induce certain thoughts in the depths of a person's heart. It could catch them off guard, and even evoke the deepest fear in a person's heart when they were not even aware of it. In the dream, she could transform into anything. This was all an illusion, but the damage she caused was incomparably real. "Tang Jing, wake up!" Chi Yu shouted. Tang Zheng's entire body quivered, as if an electric current was flowing through his body. He walked out of the dream and saw that Yi Meiyu had already attacked in front of him. His eyes turned cold, and he could not help but feel a bit of fear. He was not as powerful as Chi Yu and the inner demon. Even if he knew that the other party had such a strange spell, it would be difficult for him to defend against it. He would involuntarily fall into the dream. Fortunately, there were Chi Yu and the inner demons, these two powerful fellows. Otherwise, if he were to face Yi Meiyu alone, he would not be able to gain much of an advantage. Seeing that Tang Jing had woken up once again, a cold light flashed in Yi Meiyu's hand, and a sword appeared. It was like autumn water, and the sword light rippled, pointing straight at Tang Jing's heart. Crack! The War Soul sword appeared once again. It streaked across the air and landed on the sword, splitting it into two. The War Soul sword went straight for Yi Meiyu's vitals. Yi Meiyu's eyes flashed with panic as she retreated in panic. However, the War Soul sword had completely enveloped her, leaving her with no way out. Clang! Suddenly, a green light descended from the sky and landed on the War Soul sword. With a crisp sound, the War Soul sword tilted to the side, and the huge rebound force caused Tang Jing to almost lose his grip on the War Soul sword. Intense pain and numbness spread from his palm to his entire body in an instant. Tang Jing was shocked and looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. This green light was not Yi Meiyu's attack, but an unfamiliar woman beside her. She was holding a weeping willow in her hand. It was lush green and exuded vitality. Heartless willow! Chi Yu and the inner demons shouted in unison. Tang Zheng's head jerked, and he hurriedly asked, "What heartless willow?" Didn't we tell you before that in ancient times, the Yellow Emperor had a fierce female general under his command? The heartless willow is her magic treasure. Chi Yu said with a complicated tone. Tang Jing suddenly opened his eyes wide and stared straight at the unfamiliar woman in front of him. Her waist was wide and fat, her face was filled with hardships, her hands were filled with calluses, her face was filled with fierceness, her aura was extremely sharp, her domineering aura leaked out, and she did not have the slightest bit of weakness of a woman. Heartless willow! Who exactly are you? Tang Jing asked warily. She raised her thick eyebrows, and her face was filled with a ferocious expression that could almost scare a child to tears. She opened her bloody mouth and clicked her tongue in admiration. You actually know my transcendent artifact? Who told you? Who doesn't know the magic treasure of the general under the Yellow Emperor? You even know about the Yellow Emperor. The other party was truly surprised. Since you recognize the Heartless Willow, then you should naturally know who the owner of the Heartless Willow is. Her voice was powerful and resonant, as if she was using a loudspeaker to amplify her voice. Lu Wuxin, she is Lu Wuxin. Shi Yu let out a long sigh and said faintly. In ancient times, Lu Wuxin was not only an amazing cultivator, but also an outstanding beauty. How could she look like this? Lu Wuxin is not dead. How many of those old things have come back to life? The inner demons could not hide their surprise and clicked their tongue in wonder. Could Lu Wuxin be the very powerful female general you were talking about? Tang Jing cursed inwardly and hurriedly asked. You are very smart, you guessed right. The inner demon sighed. Qiyu, you really have a crow's mouth. Speak of the devil and he will appear. This Lu Wuxin's cultivation is obviously not weak. If the two of them join hands to fight me, won't I have little chance of winning? Tang Jing complained incessantly. That might not be the case. Qiyu retorted, Lu Wuxin was very powerful back then, but she is now the same as Nightmare. Her strength has been greatly reduced, and she is no longer as strong as she was back then. On the contrary, your cultivation is higher than both of them. Really? Tang Jing was both surprised and happy. Of course it's true. Qiyu nodded. Their souls have experienced tens of thousands of years and are no longer as valiant as they were back then. Now that they have just been reborn, their strength has been greatly reduced and cannot be compared to you. However, these people have a lot of battle experience and have many mysterious techniques, so they definitely cannot be underestimated. Tang Jing nodded heavily, indicating that he understood. Lu Wuxin stared at Tang Jing with a burning gaze, as if he wanted to see through him. Yi Meiyu looked at this uninvited guest curiously and asked, Who are you? You are Nightmare's disciple, and Nightmare and I are old friends, so we are together. Lu Wuxin's gaze turned and landed on Yi Meiyu's body. Yi Meiyu frowned. Just now, when she saw Lu Wuxin make a move, she naturally understood how powerful the other party was. She did not rashly contradict her, but instead had an idea. Since she is an old friend of that old thing, Nightmare, then wouldn't I be able to use her to deal with Tang Jing? Yi Meiyu had fought with Tang Jing a few times, and seeing that he could easily break through her traceless dream technique, she gradually stopped underestimating him. However, her hatred for Tang Jing did not decrease in the slightest, but instead became more and more intense. Lu Wuxin, you claim to be smart, but you still don't know that you've been deceived by others. The person in front of you is not a good person. It is true that she is Nightmare's disciple, but Nightmare died in his hands. You and Nightmare are old friends. Don't tell me that you don't want to take revenge for your old friend. Tang Jing had an idea and asked back. Yi Meiyu's expression changed slightly as she berated sternly, Tang Jing, you're spouting nonsense. What? Nightmare is dead. What's going on? Lu Wuxin turned pale with fright. Yi Meiyu's tears streamed down her face as she said with a tearful face, Senior, Master died so miserably. At the critical moment of possession, he was disturbed by this Tang Jing and then killed by him. Yi Meiyu's acting skills were top-notch, and her ability to play the blame game was at its peak, successfully deceiving Lu Wuxin. Lu Wuxin flew into a rage, his eyes blazing as he stared at Tang Jing, gritted his teeth and said, Tang Jing, no matter how you try to sow discord, I will not fall for your trick. You brat, you do not know how powerful Nightmare is, so, how could she possibly kill Nightmare? Your method is too clumsy, you can't fool me. Therefore, you must die. Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows and said meaningfully, "Yi Meiyu, I have truly underestimated you. You are so quick-witted, and your acting skills are so high." Yi Meiyu sneered in her heart and said pitifully, "Tang Jing, not only did you kill Master, you even came to bully me. You are truly ruthless. Senior, you must avenge Master and uphold justice for me." With that, he looked at Lu Wuxin with tears in his eyes. Lu Wuxin was furious, his face was ashen, the heartless willow in his hand emitted a green light, emitting a mysterious and terrifying aura. Yi Meiyu glanced at Lu Wuxin without leaving a trace. Seeing that she had completely believed her words, she couldn't help but reveal an imperceptible smile. She thought to herself, "These old things don't know how to keep up with the times, they're too easy to deceive. First, I'll deceive her to deal with Tang Jing." Previously, Lu Wuxin had personally admitted that he had killed Nightmare, but Lu Wuxin had arrived too late and did not see this. However, she already knew beforehand that Yi Meiyu was Nightmare's disciple. Back then, when Nightmare was still in Yi Meiyu's body, he had tried his best to contact his old friend, Lu Wuxin, and had her come to the capital to discuss the grand plan. He had also told her that he had found a very satisfactory successor. Lu Wuxin had just arrived at the capital tonight, and unintentionally discovered the battle between Tang Jing and Yi Meiyu. Naturally, he recognized that Yi Meiyu was Nightmare's disciple, so he naturally could not stand by and watch. Tang Jing shook his head helplessly. He knew that no matter what he said, the other party would not believe him, so he did not say anything else. Since Qiyu had asserted that the other party's cultivation was inferior to his, then there was nothing to worry about. Lu Wuxin's killing intent had already accumulated to its peak. He walked towards Tang Jing step by step. His footsteps were heavy and powerful. With every step he took, his wide feet left deep footprints on the stone ground, causing people to feel a chill down their spines. The heartless willow was full of green, swaying in the wind. Suddenly, Lu Wuxin's wrist moved slightly, and a green light burst out from the heartless willow, shooting towards Tang Jing. "The heartless willow is a sacred artifact, you must be careful," Qiyu warned. Sacred artifact. Tang Jing's head trembled. He immediately took out his war soul sword. The sword light shone brightly, immediately fighting with the heartless willow. The green light and the sword light intertwined in the air. It was exceptionally dazzling. A sword came from the west, flying immortal from beyond the heavens. When Tang Jing used the heaven-flying immortal sword technique, the power of the war soul sword increased greatly. The heartless willow swayed in the wind, its branches flying long and dancing in the air, like a long whip, fiercely lashing at the war soul sword. The war soul sword's sword light blazed as it quickly counterattacked. Ping ping pang pang, chi flew everywhere. The surrounding buildings were affected. Large holes appeared on the walls, and the trees were cut in half. It was as if a typhoon had passed through, turning everything into ruins. The heartless willow was still growing crazily. This small alley was almost filled with willow branches. There were willow branches all around, full of green, but in reality, it was filled with killing intent. Tang Jing swung his sword and slashed. The heartless willow was cut in half, but it quickly grew back. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, a green light flashed, and the leaves on the willow branches flew up, like sharp flying knives, shooting towards Tang Jing. Tang Jing's surroundings were filled with willow leaves, covering the sky and the sun. Sacred armor shield. Tang Jing roared, and the sacred armor shield appeared out of thin air. Ding dang, the willow leaves that filled the sky hit the sacred armor shield. The huge rebound force caused Tang Jing's body and mind to tremble. Lu Ye's attack was nullified by the sacred armor shield. Tang Jing thrusted with his sword, and with a piercing sound, the willow branch was cut off again. The war soul sword turned into a ray of sword light and left his hand, flying through the thousands of willow branches towards Lu Wuxin, who was behind the layers of barriers. A willow branch jumped out from the heartless willow, trying to bind the War Soul Sword, but it was immediately torn into pieces by the Berserk Sword Chi, and the War Soul Sword went straight in. Seeing that it was about to pierce into Lu Wuxin's body, Lu Wuxin roared, and quickly retreated with Yimeyu. Boom! The War Soul Sword pierced into the wall behind them, causing it to collapse with a loud bang, causing dust to fill the sky. Chapter 1080. The powerful might of the War Soul Sword caused Lu Wuxin's expression to change greatly. She looked at him deeply and said, "Tang Zheng, I will come and find you again." After she finished speaking, a willow branch suddenly shot out from the heartless willow in her hand and soared into the sky. She and Yimeyu stepped on the willow branch and soared into the sky. "Where are you going?" Tang Zheng growled. The War Soul Sword flew into the air and slashed at the willow branch with a "so" sound. The willow branch broke, but it did not fall to the ground. Instead, it relied on an invisible force to quickly grow, and disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. Don't chase after her. Although Lu Wuxin's cultivation is not as good as yours, she has a lot of methods. Her ability to escape is definitely above yours. You won't be able to catch up, Qiyu advised. Tang Zheng had no choice but to stop and say faintly, "Lu Wuxin and Yimeyu have both escaped, these two will definitely not let this go. They will definitely come and find trouble with me in the future. This is inevitable. Now that the two generals under the Yellow Emperor have appeared together, isn't this a good thing?" Qiyu said worriedly, as if deep in thought. "Is there a problem?" Tang Zheng did not understand. The inner demons explained, "The Yellow Emperor's old subordinates have been resurrected, so of course he would be unhappy. The Yellow Emperor is his old enemy." Qiyu said snappily, "Inner demons, you're old and confused. Am I really such a petty person?" "Aren't you?" the inner demons asked. Qiyu said angrily, "Don't tell me you didn't think about what would happen if the people under the Yellow Emperor gathered their old subordinates once again." The inner demons were startled, as if they had been enlightened by these words. "You're saying that they plan to regroup and make a comeback? Is that not possible?" Qiyu asked. The inner demons fell silent. This question had stumped him. It was indeed possible. After a while, the inner demon said solemnly, "The Yellow Emperor is dead. Even if they want to make a comeback, what chance do they have? It's hard to say what's going on in the world. Back then, I was able to preserve a sliver of my soul during the Battle of Zhuolu, let alone the scheming Yellow Emperor. Can you be sure that he didn't leave behind any backup plans?" This question made the inner demons fall silent again. Tang Zheng recalled that back in the desolate heavenly tomb, Tian Chanzi had been possessed by a strand of the Yellow Emperor's remnant soul on the bronze coffin, and had even tried to kill Tang Zheng. Later on, after the Yellow Emperor's remnant soul had disappeared, Tian Chanzi had even profited from this disaster and increased his cultivation. Could it be that other than that strand of the Yellow Emperor's remnant soul, there were other Yellow Emperor's souls in this world? He couldn't think of an answer because even Qiyu and the inner demons didn't know the real answer. The inner demons hesitated for a long time before finally saying, "If the Yellow Emperor really has a way to survive, then wouldn't he be competing with your old rival again?" Qiyu coldly snorted and didn't comment. Tang Zheng's expression changed as he muttered to himself, "Qiyu is in my body. If the Yellow Emperor comes to deal with Qiyu, then wouldn't I be the first to bear the brunt of it?" Hee, young man, you're quite smart. Now you understand how dangerous it is to have Qiyu in your body. He's simply a ticking time bomb. The inner demons gloated. Qiyu flew into a rage. "Inner demons, you're talking nonsense. Don't make it sound like you're related to the Yellow Emperor. You're also a thorn in the side of the Yellow Emperor. If the Yellow Emperor knows that you're in Tang Zheng's body, I'm afraid that he won't be able to wait to destroy you," Qiyu impatiently retorted. Hearing the two bickering, Tang Jing felt a headache coming on. He held his forehead and said worriedly, "You two aren't easy to deal with. I'm really unlucky to have let you two enter my body." Qi Yu and the inner demons immediately fell silent. Clearly, they didn't want to provoke Tang Jing. What should we do now? Is there any way to find these two? Tang Jing was silent for a moment and then asked. Qi Yu said faintly, "These two have a primitive aura on them. It's just that it's beyond the range of my perception, so I can't find them for the time being. Don't tell me that I'm just going to let the other party spy on me. Who knows, maybe one day I'll encounter a sudden attack." Tang Jing asked in annoyance. "No, they've tested your true strength this time. They won't act rashly again." Qi Yu hurriedly comforted him. Tang Jing snorted and said, "What if they don't do as you say?" "They won't. Lu Wuxin is a very steady person. She won't act rashly unless she has full confidence. You can rest assured about this," Qi Yu said solemnly. The inner demons agreed. Qi Yu didn't lie about this. Many people knew about Lu Wuxin's temperament back then. She always strives for stability. Then what do you think she'll do next? On one hand, she'll work hard to cultivate and strive to reach the next level. On the other hand, if she really has other motives, then she'll definitely gather the Yellow Emperor's former subordinates and rise again in winter. Qi Yu analyzed. "What do you think, inner demons?" Tang Jing asked. "I agree." Tang Jing fell into silence. Lu Wuxin's appearance had caught him off guard. Most importantly, Xiaobai hadn't been found yet. After a comprehensive analysis of this trip to the inner palace, he was afraid that the bureau chief really didn't have the strength to capture Xiaobai. Then where did Xiaobai go? And who was the one who took him away? This was a huge mystery. He hesitated whether or not to return to the inner palace, but after thinking for a while, he decided to give up. Since he believed that the bureau chief couldn't capture Xiaobai, there was no point in continuing to pester the bureau chief. He couldn't possibly kill the other party, could he? That would escalate the situation and eventually cause irreparable damage. There must be some clues. Xiaobai isn't an ordinary pet. The person who wants to capture him must have a high enough cultivation. There are many experts in the capital, but there are very few who have the ability to capture Xiaobai. All of a sudden, he could not help but look up and actually saw a sky full of stars, which was quite rare. A light flashed in his eyes, and he suddenly slapped his head and exclaimed, "I almost overlooked this point, this is too important. The power of the stars. Yes, this is the key." He immediately recalled the clues from before and finally realized that according to the time, when Little White and Little Yu were attacked, there was a change in the power of the stars in the sky. The mighty power of the stars descended from the sky and enveloped the capital city. The others did not notice it, but Tang Jing, who was extremely sensitive to the power of the stars, would not ignore it. It was just that he had never connected this matter to the capture of Xiaobai. He found his direction again, his eyes flashing as he looked in a certain direction. In the capital, there was only one person who could activate the power of the stars, and that was Ji Wuxiang. With the help of the heavenly chess, he could freely activate the power of the stars. Could this be related to him? Tang Jing had long suspected Ji Wuxiang, and this time, there were many suspicious points, so he naturally would not let them go. Thus, he made a prompt decision and disappeared into the darkness in a flash. Lu Wuxin and Yi Meiyu only stopped when they reached a safe place. Their eyes met, and Lu Wuxin's eyes, which were as bright as night pearls, stared straight at Yi Meiyu, as if they could see through her heart. Yi Meiyu pretended to be magnanimous, as if she did not hide anything. All these years in a famous family, she had already learned how to hide and act, so dealing with Lu Wuxin was a piece of cake for her. "Senior, are we safe?" Yi Meiyu pretended to be in a state of shock and asked. Lu Wuxi nodded coldly and asked, "It's the middle of the night. Why are you looking for Tangjing?" Yimei's eyes reddened, and she said with great emotion, "Senior, I know that Master died at his hands, and I know that I am not his match, but when I think of Master's tragic death, my heart feels like it's being twisted by a knife, and I want to take revenge for Master. With your little cultivation, you are not his match at all. How are you going to avenge your master?" "Foolish!" Lu Wuxin reprimanded without any trace of politeness. Yimei lowered her head and said righteously, "Yes, but for Master, I will not hesitate to sacrifice myself. Your intentions are very good, but you cannot act rashly. We should think about it carefully. Tang Zheng's cultivation is stronger than ours, but that is only temporary. With me here, not only my cultivation, but even your cultivation can quickly increase. For a gentleman to take revenge, 10 years is not too late. We will take revenge in the future," Lu Wuxin said resolutely. Yimei's lowered eyes flashed with an imperceptible sense of pride, and said, "I will listen to Senior's instructions. We still have more important things to do, so let him live for a few more days." Lu Wuxin gritted his teeth and said, "Senior, what do we have to do? This matter is of great importance. It is the greatest mission and wish of me and your master, Nightmare. Since your master is no longer here, then this mission will fall on your shoulders." Lu Wuxin patted Yimei's shoulder with his thick palm and reminded her. Yimei had an idea and said, "Senior, don't worry, I will definitely complete Master's last wish." Lu Wuxin looked at Yimei with gratification and praised, "Nightmare really took in a good disciple, no wonder he was so satisfied and passed on his lifelong secret to you. This is all because of Master's love. I will remember it in my heart." Yimei said without changing her expression, "What exactly is this matter?" "You'll know when the time comes." Lu Wuxin did not say it out loud. Yimei also did not ask any further, thinking that she would know one day. "Right now, our top priority is to find a like-minded old friend," Lu Wuxin said. "Oh, what old friend?" "The old friends of your master and I, the souls that escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, must have already found a new body. It's time to gather them," Lu Wuxin said excitedly, ready to move. Yimei's heart skipped a beat, and asked, "Where are we going to find them in this vast sea of people?" "There will always be a way." Chapter 1081. Lu Wuxin looked at her in astonishment, as if he did not expect her to have a way, so he asked, "What method do you have? Tell me about it." Yimei said, "If you want to gather your old subordinates, then you must need their information. In this vast sea of people, finding them is like finding a needle in a haystack. Therefore, if we have a large amount of information, wouldn't we be able to find them even faster?" Lu Wuxin's eyes lit up, as if he was deep in thought. "That's a good idea, but where is the information we want?" "I know a person. He definitely has the information you want." "Who is it?" Yimei purposely kept him in suspense. "Senior, we'll know when we get there. This way please." After passing through the streets and alleys, the two of them arrived at a high wall. Lu Wuxin looked deeply into the high wall and said, "What is this place?" There are quite a few martial artists among them. Although Lu Wuxin was from the ancient era, he still knew the difference between martial artists and cultivators. Naturally, he could feel the auras within the high wall. Yimei laughed, "Of course there will be martial artists. This is the great inner palace, and the people at the top of the country live inside." Lu Wuxin still had a certain understanding of modern society and understood what Yimei's words meant. However, she did not put the so-called power level in her eyes at all. In her heart, other than the Yellow Emperor, no one else was worth fearing. "You have a relationship with the people inside?" Lu Wuxin asked suspiciously. "I can pull the strings." If Senior talks to him, he will have everything Senior wants. Yi Meiyu said with a smile. Lu Wuxin thoughtfully nodded his head. That's a good idea. As soon as she finished speaking, she soared into the air and jumped over the high wall. Yi Meiyu was slightly startled, but then she felt relieved and also jumped over the high wall. Who is it? A few shouts rang out as a large group of guards swarmed over. Lu Wuxin did not even look at these people. With a wave of his hand, the Wuxin willow in his hand transformed into a long willow branch that flew out and wrapped around these people. One by one, they were thrown out and landed on the surrounding roofs. Such a huge commotion immediately attracted the attention of even more people. Bang, bang, bang. Gunshots rang out, and bullets filled the sky directly towards the two of them like a tidal wave. Lu Wuxin's eyes flashed with cold light. Swish, swish, swish. The willow leaves on the willow branch transformed into rays of green light that pierced through the bodies of these people like lancet knives. Immediately, these people fell to the ground with a loud bang. Lu Wuxin walked toward the innermost area as if he had entered an uninhabited area. Yi Meiyu followed behind her with a smile. Originally, the bureau chief and Yi Xuanji were still having a long talk. Tang Zhang's trip had left a deep impression on the bureau chief, making him experience the true threat and fear of death. It turned out that even though he was in a high position, it wasn't absolutely safe. In front of a powerhouse like Tang Jing, he actually felt a trace of inferiority. He suddenly had a desire to become stronger. In addition to power, he had a new goal. However, after a long conversation with Yi Xuanji still couldn't think of a way to make him stronger no matter how hard he tried. After all, he wasn't young anymore. For a martial artist, he was already past the age to practice martial arts. He was extremely disappointed and sat back down heavily on the chair, unable to hide the disappointment on his face. Yi Xuanji's thoughts were complicated. This time, Tang Zhang's actions had caused him a great shock. He had been running the Ya family for so many years and had grown stronger day by day, but he still didn't dare to go against the bureau chief. Now, he even had to act according to the bureau chief's mood. Compared to Tang Jing, the difference was obvious. It made him feel a deep sense of defeat. He had worked hard his entire life, but he couldn't compare to Tang Jing in just a few years. The gap was too big. Suddenly, Yi Xuanji's expression changed drastically as he looked outside the door. The sounds of fighting and shouting immediately came from outside. The bureau chief also heard it and immediately sat up straight, frowning as he looked outside the door. I'll go and see what's going on. Yi Xuanji took the initiative to say. Yi Xuanji stood up and walked out. Before he reached the door, he saw a woman walking towards him. His pupils suddenly constricted, and all the hairs on his body stood up. Because, from the other party, he felt a strong sense of danger. Who is this woman? Where did this expert come from? I can't see through her at all. Yi Xuanji was shocked. Lu Wuxin walked over expressionlessly and looked at Yi Xuanji coldly. He didn't put him in his eyes at all. Then, he looked inside the house and immediately locked onto the bureau chief. He strode into the house. Stop! Yi Xuanji of course couldn't sit still and immediately shouted to stop him. Lu Wuxin acted as if he didn't hear him. Yi Xuanji's face was as red as blood. He took a step forward and blocked Lu Wuxin's path. Lu Wuxin was still looking forward. The heartless willow in his hand flashed with a green light and the willow branches grew crazily, immediately wrapping around Yi Xuanji's leg. With a fierce pull, Yi Xuanji was hung upside down like a lantern, hanging at the door. Yi Xuanji was furious and reacted quickly. The sword in his hand flashed and directly chopped at the willow branch. Kacha! The willow branch broke. Yi Xuanji regained his freedom and landed on the ground in a sorry state. He saw Lu Wuxin had already walked through the door. Yi Xuanji was about to shout when he saw a slender woman standing in front of him. It was his granddaughter, Yi Meiyu. Meiyu, why are you here? Yi Meiyu glanced at him indifferently and said, why can't I come here? Of course you can't come. Yi Xuanji roared. He had suffered such a huge loss in front of his own granddaughter. He felt that he had lost all face, so his temper was naturally not good. The corner of Yi Meiyu's mouth curled up into a cold smile as she said, of course I can come to a place that you can't come to. I can still come to a place that you can't come to. Meiyu, how dare you speak to me in such a tone? Yi Xuanji did not know that Yi Meiyu was no longer the same as before, nor did he know anything about what had happened to her. His impression of her was still the same as before. Towards this granddaughter of his, Yi Xuanji racked his brains and chose to ignore her in the end. Therefore, even if Yi Meiyu wasn't at home during this period of time, and even if there were many changes, he didn't notice it at all. Yi Meiyu said lightly, you've never thought highly of me, so why can't I use this tone to talk to you? Don't take advantage of your seniority, your time has passed, don't look for trouble yourself. Yi Xuanji was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. In the Yi family, his words carried weight, and his dignity could not be provoked in the slightest. But at this moment, Yi Meiyu dared to speak to him in such a manner, he really had the heart to kill her. His fists were clenched so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. Yi Meiyu did not take him seriously at all and walked around him into the house. Yi Xuanji suddenly reached out and grabbed her. He decided to teach her a lesson and let her know what it meant to respect her elders. Just as his hand was about to grab Yi Meiyu, a slender and fair palm came forward and slapped his palm. After a muffled sound, Yi Xuanji staggered back. He looked at Yi Meiyu in disbelief, then looked at his own palm. It was as if he had seen a ghost, and his eyeballs were about to fall to the ground. In the past few years, Yi Xuanji had already received quite a bit of shock, but this time, he was truly frightened. Yi Meiyu was his granddaughter that he was extremely familiar with. It had been more than 20 years, and he knew her very well. When did she become so powerful? Hidden deep. Absolutely impossible. To hide from his eyes for so many years, unless he was blind and deaf. However, the scene in front of him was incomparably real, and it was impossible for it to be fake. Especially the power that was transmitted back from his palm, even his qi and blood were churning. Meiyu, what's going on? Yi Xuanji could not help but ask. Yi Meiyu looked at him coldly and smiled complacently, your era has passed. The future of the Ya family depends on me. You. Yi Xuanji almost spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was flushed red and he was unable to say a word. However, he was already helpless. The difference in strength between the two of them was too obvious. He had worked hard for his entire life, but his achievements were actually inferior to his own granddaughter. This was truly a huge joke. In an instant, he seemed to have aged 10 years, and wrinkles appeared on his face. Yi Meiyu did not look at him anymore and directly walked into the room. Lu Wuxin had already walked in front of the bureau chief. The bureau chief's expression kept changing. He was also at a loss for what to do. Of course he knew Yi Meiyu, but he never thought that she would be so powerful to actually suppress Yi Xuanji. This was too unreasonable. Could it be that this pair of grandfather and grandson were acting for him? Impossible. Judging from Yi Xuanji's reaction, he did not know about it beforehand. Then that did not make sense. When did Yi Meiyu become so powerful? This was definitely not a long time, but an extremely short period of time. The bureau chief's eyes lit up. If Yi Meiyu became stronger in an extremely short period of time, wouldn't that mean that he also had the chance? He stared at Yi Meiyu with a burning gaze, his eyes almost blooming with light. I need you to give me information. Lu Wuxin went straight to the point and said his opening words without any trace of politeness. The bureau chief's gaze was immediately attracted back to Lu Wuxin, and he asked with a serious expression, "May I ask who you are, to dare to barge into my residence at night?" Lu Wuxin. These 3 words floated in the air. A look of suspicion flashed across the bureau chief's eyes. He had never heard of this name before and could not help but be puzzled. A person with such strength in this world should not be a nobody. Where did she come from? Yi Xuanji also had the same question in his heart, but he swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. What information do you need me to provide you? The bureau chief asked with interest. If the other party had a request, then he would be safe. This meant that the other party was not targeting him. Otherwise, experiencing 2 battles against him in one night would probably leave a serious psychological shadow in his heart. Chapter 1082. Lu Wuxin had the same idea as Qi Yu and the others. Lu Wuxin wanted to find the former subordinates of the Yellow Emperor, which meant that he was counting on the souls that had escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb. The only way to find them was to collect information about the unusual situations in various places. The Li Palace was already investigating this matter. This time, Lu Wuxin had also found the bureau chief to seek information about this. The bureau chief looked at Lu Wuxin in surprise, and asked with a frown, "Why do you want to know this information?" "I naturally have my own uses." Lu Wuxin did not reveal his true purpose. The bureau chief hesitated for a moment and did not get to the bottom of the matter. Instead, he glanced at the numerous guards who were chasing after them at the entrance. These people were really scared out of their wits. The inner palace was so heavily guarded, yet these 2 women were able to barge in as if they were in a deserted land. This was a huge dereliction of duty on their part. If anything were to happen to the bureau chief, they would not be able to atone for it even if they died 100 times. "All of you can leave." The bureau chief waved his hand and said with some magnanimity. The guards all looked at the bureau chief. They did not know if his words came out of his own will or if he was coerced. For a moment, they were hesitant. The bureau chief frowned and said, "Didn't you hear my order?" Seeing that, the guards scattered like birds and beasts, retreating far away. Their expressions were complicated as they stared at them with extreme caution. Lu Wuxin and Yi Meiyu acted as if they did not see this scene at all, as they remained calm and collected. The bureau chief looked at Yi Xuanji thoughtfully and said, "You can go back first." Yi Xuanji was slightly startled. He did not expect the bureau chief to chase him out. He hurriedly said, "Bureau chief, I'll stay behind to protect you." "No need." The bureau chief's attitude was firm, and the way he looked at Yi Xuanji was extremely calm. Obviously, he was extremely dissatisfied with Yi Xuanji's performance just now. He was unable to stop Tang Jing, nor was he able to stop these 2 people. Even his own granddaughter was unable to contend against them. This kind of person who held the title of patriarch of the Ye family, how useful could he be to him? Yi Xuanji naturally thought of this as well, and his expression became even more dejected. He took a deep look at Yi Meiyu and Lu Wuxin, then dejectedly retreated like a general who had lost a battle, closing the door behind him. From the beginning to the end, Yi Meiyu did not look at all. She glanced at Yi Xuanji, as if his loss did not cause the slightest ripple in her heart. "Both of you, please take a seat." The bureau chief pointed at the chairs and invited them. Lu Wuxin and Yi Meiyu sat down casually, and Lu Wuxin asked, "Do you have the information we need?" The bureau chief's lips curled into a smile as he said, "I can collect any information in this world. You don't have to doubt this. But there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. What can you do for me if I provide you with information?" After saying that, half of the bureau chief's body leaned against the large chair as he looked at the 2 of them with sparkling eyes. You. Lu Wuxin was about to reprimand him for being as blind as a bat for daring to negotiate with her. At the critical moment, Yi Meiyu pulled her back and whispered, "Senior, let me talk to him." Yi Meiyu was very clear about the power and strength that the bureau chief represented. Now that he had already established a big enemy like Tang Jing, there was no need to break ties with the bureau chief. On the contrary, cooperation between the two sides was the biggest win-win situation. Moreover, she believed that the bureau chief had long regarded Tang Jing as a thorn in his side. This could be heard from the conversation between Yi Xuanji and Yi Ku. As a core member of the Ye family, Yi Meiyu was naturally more well-informed than the average person, so it was not difficult to speculate this point. Lu Wuxin glanced at Yi Meiyu and chose to remain silent. "Bureau chief, I understand what you mean. What do you want for you to agree to provide us with information?" Yi Meiyu asked. The bureau chief stared at Yi Meiyu with a burning gaze, and sighed after a long time. "Yi Xuanji really made a mistake. It turns out that the most powerful person in the Ye family is you, and the person with the greatest achievements will definitely be you. It was a huge mistake for him to hand over the future of the Ye family to Yi Ku. You are a smart person, so I won't beat around the bush. You are all cultivators, and I also want to become a cultivator. I want to become stronger in the shortest time possible like you." Yi Meiyu said calmly. Bureau chief has excellent vision to actually see this point. In the future, personal strength is the most important thing. So what if you have great power? You can't bring it with you when you are born, and you can't bring it with you when you die. Is there a way to do this? The bureau chief ignored Yi Meiyu's flattery and asked straightforwardly. Yi Meiyu turned to look at Lu Wuxin. Lu Wuxin was expressionless. He hesitated for a moment and said, "Your method is not difficult. There are many ways to become a cultivator. Not only do I want to become a cultivator, but I also want to become strong enough." The bureau chief emphasized. He did not choose to become a martial artist, but a cultivator. This was because he had seen too many miracles from cultivators, and naturally believed that cultivators were higher than martial artists. He had always pursued the extreme, and cultivators were the extreme. Lu Wuxi nodded without hesitation. "No problem. Is there really a way?" The bureau chief raised his eyebrows, and was quite moved. "This may be difficult for others, but for me, it is not difficult. As long as you find the information I want, everything will be solved," Lu Wuxin said with certainty. "Another question, what do you want this information for?" The bureau chief asked curiously. "The secret to becoming stronger is in this information. If you want to become stronger as soon as possible, then find everything I want as soon as possible." Lu Wuxin didn't try to explain too much, and instead said very calmly. The bureau chief paused for a moment, slammed the table, and said excitedly, "Okay, I will give the order now, and there will be results soon. How do I contact you?" "Just send someone to the Ye family," Yi Meiyu said first. "Also, we have a common enemy, so our cooperation is a win-win situation. In the future, we will definitely cause a fatal threat and harm to this enemy." Yi Meiyu gritted her teeth and said. The bureau chief looked at her suspiciously and asked, "Who is our common enemy?" "Tang Zhang. It's him." The bureau chief was obviously shocked. Not only did Tang Jing threaten the big families, he even extended his devil's claws to the officials, to the bureau chief's side. Just now, I knew that the bureau chief sent someone to summon the old master to deal with him. But now that his wings are growing, ordinary people can't hurt him at all. Only our alliance can give him a fatal blow in the future and take revenge," Yi Meiyu said with killing intent. The bureau chief's heart sank into torment, but he quickly made a decision. Watching the two of them leave, the bureau chief fell into deep thought. His brows were knitted tightly and relaxed at times. In the end, his eyes shone with anticipation. He picked up the phone on the table and gave the order. Lu Wuxin and Yi Meiyu left the courtyard house. When they walked out of the door, they saw Yi Xuanji waiting outside. Wait a moment. Yi Xuanji walked up and blocked their path. Lu Wuxin looked at him coldly and asked, "Do you want to die? I can fulfill your wish." Yi Xuanji's face was pale as he explained awkwardly, "Don't misunderstand, I don't have any hostility, I just want to find out what happened to my granddaughter." With that, he turned his head and stared straight at Yi Meiyu. In the end, he had no choice but to connect the matter of the possession that Tang Jing had mentioned a while ago. Yi Meiyu had suddenly become strong. Could it be that she had been possessed by someone? He was not completely ignorant about possession. He understood that a stronger soul had taken over the body, which was equivalent to a different person. Could it be that the granddaughter standing in front of him had another strange soul in her body? Yi Xuanji was shocked by his own thoughts, as if he wanted to distinguish the difference in Yi Meiyu's body. In the end, he sadly discovered that there were too many differences in Yi Meiyu's body. It was as if she had changed into another person. "Meiyu, what's going on? Is this still you?" Yi Xuanji's voice trembled as he asked in a low voice. The corner of Yi Meiyu's mouth curled up, and she said, "Of course I'm not the same as before. This is a brand new Yi Meiyu. Didn't you always value that girl Yi Dingdang and treat me as a woman who is not important or even a disgrace to your family? Let me tell you today, what Yi Dingdang can't do, I can do. What I can do, Yi Dingdang might not be able to do. I am the true hope of the Ya family." Although Yi Meiyu was strong, she still did not abandon the deep-rooted family concept of the Ya family. Instead, it was branded deep in her bones. Hearing that, Yi Xuanji thought hard, his eyes widened even more, but after racking his brains, he still couldn't figure it out. He was unable to determine if she had been possessed or not, because no one else could have said those words. "You haven't been possessed?" Yi Xuanji asked, unwilling to give up. Yi Meiyu's eyelids twitched, she glanced at Lu Wuxin from the corner of her eyes, and said calmly, "Where did you hear this nonsense? How could I be possessed? I am Yi Meiyu, the real deal." "Then how did you become so powerful?" "This is all thanks to Master. You won't be able to understand." Yi Meiyu smiled and pretended to be mysterious as she spoke. "Who is your master? For the Ya family to nurture such a powerful person, I, Yi Xuanji, should pay him a visit and express my gratitude." Yi Xuanji rolled his eyes and said sincerely, "Master has already passed away. You won't be able to see him anymore." "Ah, this is truly a great pity. May I ask what your master's name is? I will definitely remember it in my heart in the future." Yi Xuanji said. "Nightmare." Lu Wuxin answered first. "Nightmare?" Yi Xuanji had even more questions in his heart. He wanted to ask further, but the other party no longer had the desire to continue, and said coldly, "Yi Meiyu, let's go." Chapter 1083. Watching Yi Meiyu and Lu Wuxin walk away, Yi Xuanji didn't have a chance to ask any questions. He returned to the Ya family in a daze. Yi Ke quickly greeted him and asked, "Grandpa, why did the chief summon you so late at night?" Yi Xuanji raised his head and glanced at his grandson. His face was full of loneliness and he didn't say a word. Yi Ke was shocked. She had never seen the old man like this before. She quickly asked, "Grandpa, what happened? Xiao Ku, have you noticed anything unusual with Meiyu recently?" Yi Xuanji asked. Yi Ke was confused and said, "I have been busy with my family business during this time. I haven't seen her for a long time. What happened to her? Did she cause trouble again?" Yi Xuanji shook his head in disappointment. "She has changed, she is no longer the Yi Meiyu of the past." "Grandpa, what the hell is going on? You will know when you see her." After saying that, he walked to his room without looking back. That stalwart back seemed to be a little stooped, making Yiku's eyes jump a few times, and her heart was filled with apprehension. "Mayu, where are you?" After hesitating again and again, Yiku dialed Mayu's phone. "What's the matter?" Mayu replied coldly. "Did you make Grandpa angry again? Come back and apologize to Grandpa." Yiku said sternly. He. Mayu's unscrupulous laughter came over. "I apologize to him. Does he have the qualifications?" Yiku raised her eyebrows and flew into a rage. "Mayu, what are you doing? I will give you half an hour to come back, otherwise, you will have to bear the consequences." "Yiku, let me tell you, don't talk to me in this tone in the future. Just because you are older than me, you dare to yell at me, right? Let me tell you, I, Mayu, am no longer the Mayu of the past. No one in the Ya family can talk to me like this." Mayu finished speaking and hung up the phone. Yiku held the phone and stayed in the same place at a loss. It was inconceivable. What is wrong with Mayu? How dare she talk to me like this? He decided to get to the bottom of this, so he called her again, but her phone was turned off. "No matter what you do, I will find you." Yiku's eyes flashed and she clenched her teeth. Tang Jing arrived outside the Go Club in a hurry. Under the dark night, the Go Club seemed very quiet. Whoosh! He leaped and tried to climb over the wall. Bang! However, a huge force rebounded from the wall and coincidentally struck Tang Zhang's body. He was like a cannonball as he was sent flying, ruthlessly crashing into a large tree. He leaped up from the ground like a carp, his eyes overflowing with radiance as he stared fixedly at the walls of the Go Club. Suddenly, his ears twitched slightly as he heard a sound coming from the Go Club. With a creak, the door of the Go Club opened. Someone walked out and looked around vigilantly. When he saw Tang Jing not far away, he was slightly stunned and asked, "Young Master Tang, why are you here in the middle of the night?" Obviously, the other party had already expected that the person who tried to break into the Go Club was Tang Jing. Tang Jing looked cold and asked, "Is President Ji here?" "Yes, please wait a moment, I will invite him." "I will go find him myself." Tang Jing strode into the Go Club. The man wanted to stop him, but he was not Tang Zhang's opponent. He could only follow him step by step and said, "Young Master Tang, if there is anything urgent, I will report it. President Ji is resting." Tang Zhang had just suffered a loss, and he felt that the Go Club was not simple. Before, he did not realize that the Go Club had such a strong protective force. "Where is President Ji's room? I will go find him myself," Tang Zhang said loudly. The other party had no choice but to stare. After the Great Lord used the non-phase method to trap Little White, he brought it back to the Go Club. Little White gritted its teeth and looked at him, saying, "Master will definitely come to save me." "Hee, you are looking forward to Tang Jing coming to save you. Stop dreaming, he doesn't know where you are hidden." The Lord sneered. "What is this place?" Whitey rolled its eyes and looked around curiously. "You don't need to know. You are important to Tang Jing. I don't even know where you came from. Why don't you tell me where you came from before you die?" The Lord said. The red lunar beast was useful to the Great Lord, as it could help him communicate with the power of the stars. However, although Little White was naturally mystical, it was not very useful to the Great Lord. Leaving it behind would be a huge disaster instead. Therefore, from the beginning to the end, he did not intend to leave Xiaobai alive. Xiaobai was smarter than the red lunar beast and could speak human language. Once the tiger returned to the mountain, it would certainly leak a lot of information to Tang Jing. This was not a good thing for the Lord. Little White was like a brave warrior ready to die a martyr's death. He stood proudly with his head raised. He stared at the honorable lord with disdain and said, "Don't waste your breath. Not to mention that I don't know where I came from. Even if I did, I wouldn't tell you a single word." The lord stared at Xiao Bai. After confirming that it was not lying, he could not help but be surprised. It did not even know where it came from. Then what was its background? He shook his head slightly. It was not important. There would no longer be a little white in the future, so there was no meaning to its origin. Ordinary weapons can't hurt you, but now is a high-tech society. The power of technology is infinite, so your defense is not omnipotent. The Lord carried Xiao Bai and walked into the depths of the basement. There was a different world under the chess club. It was brightly lit, as if it was daytime. Under the light, many instruments could be seen. There were even a few corpses of demonic beasts. They were tied to the instruments and seemed to have been tortured before they died. Their bodies were covered in blood, and they were in a sorry state. Xiao Bai's eyes widened. It stared at everything and said, "You are so ruthless. You actually caught so many demonic beasts without anyone knowing." Ever since the cultivators were expelled, demonic beasts were almost impossible to see. Only after the restrictions in the 10,000 mountains were broken did demonic beasts come and go freely. That was why I had the chance to catch them and study them. Even the dragon group led by Xing Feng could catch demonic beasts. How could my Azure Dragon Hall not have the ability? The Lord could not hide the pride in his eyes as he boasted. Xiao Bai coldly snorted and said, "You hid it too well. If I didn't hide it well, wouldn't I have been discovered by you guys? The only thing I am proud of in my life is that I am good at hiding. It is not easy for normal people to find out my true identity. This way, I can easily play with others in the palm of my hand. It is funny that those people still don't know and think that they are in control of the situation." The Lord was immensely proud. "Don't be so long-winded. I will send you on your way now." The Lord fixed Xiao Bai on an instrument. This instrument can emit the world's most powerful laser. I believe that before you die, you can taste the taste of the laser. Chapter 1084. Xiao Bai was fixed on the machine as the laser accumulated energy. Xiao Bai's life was on the line as it was counting down. Suddenly, a bell rang and the High Lord's expression changed. It was his subordinate informing him that someone had come to visit. He looked deeply at Xiao Bai and muttered to himself, "Looks like I won't have the chance to witness your death. Have a good taste of the laser." After he finished speaking, he turned around and strode out of the basement. He then gently took off his mask. This time, he changed from the High Lord to Ji Wuxiang. His aura also underwent an earth-shattering change. So it's Tang Zheng who barged in. Why did he come here in the middle of the night? Ji Wuxiang muttered to himself. "Young Master Tang, why are you here?" Ji Wuxiang changed into a set of pajamas and greeted Tang Zheng. He pretended to be surprised as he asked. Finally seeing Ji Wuxiang, Tang Zheng stopped and asked directly, "Why did I feel the power of the stars descend in the capital?" Ji Wuxiang's heart skipped a beat. He thought to himself that Tang Zheng's senses were really sharp. Ji Wuxiang did not panic in the slightest. He smiled calmly and said, "So young Master Tang is here for this matter. I activated the heavenly chess in an attempt to absorb more power of the stars into the heavenly chess. I hope that the heavenly chess can be perfected as soon as possible. Don't you have me?" Tang Zheng asked back. "It's late at night. After all, I can't trouble young Master Tang with everything," Ji Wuxiang said with a smile. His excuse was perfect. Tang Zheng looked at him suspiciously and frowned slightly. Ji Wuxiang's expression did not change as he looked at him with a smile. "Then what's the effect of activating the heavenly chess?" Ji Wuxiang shook his head in disappointment. I am unable to communicate with the power of the stars. Even if I can activate the celestial chess and make the power of the stars descend from the 9 heavens, I am unable to precisely channel the power of the stars into the celestial chess. Therefore, without young Master Tang's help, would not have been able to succeed in this huge project. Ji Wuxiang's words were sincere and persuasive. Tang Jing stared at him with burning eyes, but he didn't express whether he believed him or not. He asked, President Ji, do you know my pet Xiao Bai? Ji Wuxiang nodded calmly. Of course, I know. I've heard that there are quite a few divine abilities as well. Xiao Bai is missing. He was kidnapped. Tang Zhang's tone suddenly dropped and became cold. What? Ji Wuxiang raised his eyebrows in surprise. How could this be? Who in the capital is a match for Xiao Bai? President Ji's power in the capital is so great, could it be that you have no news at all? Ji Wuxiang let out a long sigh and said, My power is only limited to normal matters. Regarding you cultivators, I am indeed powerless. But young Master Tang, don't worry, I will definitely do my best to track down Xiao Bai's whereabouts. Do you have any specific clues? Ji Wuxiang appeared to be very enthusiastic. Specific clues. Tang Jing muttered to himself, Number 1 died at the scene, does that count? Number 1. Isn't he the chief's man? Could it be that the chief sent people to kidnap Xiao Bai? Ji Wuxiang was extremely shocked. Do you think that's possible? This. Ji Wuxiang hesitated and bitterly laughed. I can't guess the thoughts of these people in power. President Ji is too modest. If even you can't guess, then others can't. Ji Wuxiang bitterly smiled and said, Now that I have lost my power, even my backer is in danger. If I could truly guess the thoughts of those people in power, then I wouldn't have fallen to this point. Tang Jing stared at Ji Wuxiang from beginning to end, but after staring for a long time, he still couldn't find any clues. His reactions were steady and everything was within reason, causing Tang Jing to be very passive. President Ji's information is very fast. Could it be that you still don't know what the blood moon is? Tang Jing changed the topic and asked. Ji Wuxiang was slightly startled and his expression became strange. He stared straight at Tang Jing and said with a smile, Young Master Tang should be more clear about the reason for this matter, right? Oh, why do you say that? Since young Master Tang is asking, then I will definitely tell you the truth. I just received news that the blood moon was caused by the scarlet lunar beast by your side and not by Tian Qi, right? Ji Wuxiang's gaze became thought-provoking. Tang Zhang's head moved. He didn't expect the other party to admit it so frankly. If Ji Wuxiang denied it, then Tang Zhang's suspicion of him would definitely increase. Because, with Ji Wuxiang's information, it was impossible that he didn't know about this matter. If even the chief knew about it, then this definitely couldn't be hidden from Ji Wuxiang. However, he didn't expect the other party to admit it so frankly. This made Tang Jing a bit more passive. For a moment, he couldn't understand Ji Wuxiang. Young Master Tang, you really have too many rare and exotic beasts around you. This scarlet lunar beast can actually cause the blood moon, and it's said that once you consume its inner core, you can even absorb the essence of the sun and the moon. It's equivalent to Tang Sang's meat. You have to protect it well and don't let it get caught by bad people, Ji Wuxiang reminded, seemingly full of kindness. You're really well informed. Don't tell me you don't have any thoughts after hearing this news. Tang Jing probed. Ji Wuxiang was stunned for a moment, then he laughed, Young Master Tang, you really know how to joke. We're friends, and the scarlet lunar beast is your pet. Why would I do such a thing? From Ji Wuxiang's reaction, Tang Jing didn't find the information he wanted. He also couldn't directly start a fight because he didn't have any solid evidence and no solid reason to do so. However, Xiaobai disappeared without a trace and he couldn't do anything about it. How could Tang Jing just let it go? Boom! Suddenly, a violent explosion sounded, and the ground shook. Both of them were startled at the same time. What's going on? Tang Jing asked in surprise. Ji Wuxiang's expression suddenly changed and his eyes fluctuated violently. Creak! The door was suddenly pushed open and someone rushed in and shouted, "Director Ji, something happened." Ji Wuxiang had already guessed a thing or two, so he said, "Young Master Tang, I still have something to do. You guys send young Master Tang away first." Tang Zheng had a sudden idea and said, "Director Ji, did something big happen?" "It's nothing, just a small matter. I can handle it." Ji Wuxiang's expression flickered. Tang Jing caught on to this and became even more determined to stay. He smiled and said, "Director Ji, just now you said that we're friends and should help each other, no matter if it's a big or small matter. If I can help, of course I won't refuse." After saying this, he directly walked out of the room and found that the outside was already in chaos. A part of the Go Club's building had collapsed and many people were rushing over. Looking at Tang Zheng's back, Ji Wuxiang's eyes flashed with a cold light, but there was nothing he could do. He could only chase after him and say, "Young Master Tang, don't worry. Let's see what's going on first." Tang Jing pointed at the collapsed building and said, "Director Ji, could it be that there were explosives buried in this Go Club and accidentally exploded, causing this area to collapse? I occasionally like to do small experiments like this. It might be an accident, but it's not a big deal. We'll just rebuild it." Ji Wuxiang waved his hand and said without a care. But Tang Zheng had already found some clues from his expression. This was definitely not as simple as the explosion caused by a small experiment as Ji Wuxiang had said. There was definitely something else going on. The more Ji Wuxiang tried to hide it, the more interested Tang Zheng was in finding out the details. Of course, he wouldn't leave just like that. He coldly snorted in his heart and walked over with large strides. There was actually a large hole in the collapsed ruins. Smoke and dust rose from it, but one could vaguely see that there was another world under the ruins. Tang Jing didn't say anything and jumped into the ruins. Ji Wuxiang's face became ashen. His subordinates all looked at him and asked what they should do. Ji Wuxiang fiercely stomped his feet and hurriedly chased after him and climbed into the ruins. What was under the ruins? Ji Wuxiang couldn't be more clear. Underneath the ruins was the basement where Xiaobai was imprisoned. The explosion was definitely an accident when the laser killed Xiaobai. As for why this accident happened, he couldn't figure it out for the time being. However, he was still worried that Tang Jing would find some clues and deepen his suspicion, or even immediately turn against him. From Tang Zheng's reaction tonight, he was already suspecting him. If he added the last straw and the two sides completely broke off, then it would be a terrible nightmare for Ji Wuxiang. Before Heavenly Chess was completely successful, he had to rely on Tang Jing. If they broke off, then both sides would completely fail. The Hope laser not only killed Xiaobai, but also destroyed its corpse, completely turning it into air. Ji Wuxiang secretly hoped. The energy of the laser was too strong. Normal creatures could be directly turned into air, so Xiaobai shouldn't be an exception. Ji Wuxiang silently prayed and chased after him. He found that the basement had already turned into a large hole full of holes. All the equipment had been destroyed, so it was very dark. Adding on the fact that it was covered in dust, he couldn't even see his own fingers. His subordinate quickly turned on the flashlight, and finally saw a trace of light. Ji Wuxiang shouted, "Young Master Tang, where are you?" There was no reply, and Tang Zheng was nowhere to be seen. Everyone looked at each other and walked in the dark. Wherever the light shone, they didn't see anything special. An ominous premonition surfaced in Ji Wuxiang's heart. Could it be that Tang Zheng was one step ahead of him and found some clues? He gradually clenched his fist, and there was a trace of killing intent in his eyes. If that was the case, then he definitely couldn't let Tang Zheng live today. He definitely couldn't let the tiger go back to the mountain. As for perfecting heavenly chess, he had to think of another way. The Red Moon Beast was a good breakthrough. If they really broke off, then he had to capture the Red Moon Beast no matter what. Once he consumed the Red Moon Beast's inner core, he would naturally be able to communicate with the astral energy and perfect heavenly chess. Chapter 1085. Amidst the dead silence and darkness, a glimmer of light suddenly appeared. Ji Wuxiang and the others all stopped in their tracks and focused their eyes. It was a ball of fire, bright red, redder than blood. Top percent dot percent small percent say, X. At the same time, an angry roar sounded in their ears and a terrifying aura swept over. Whoosh! A fireball, like a meteor from outer space, quickly smashed over. The person at the front bore the brunt and was directly wrapped in the fireball. With a hiss, he turned into a wisp of steam, dissipating into the air. But there were no cries of alarm. Ji Wuxiang and his subordinates' pupils shrank at the same time as they stared unblinkingly at the fireball in the darkness. Young Master Tang! Ji Wuxiang shouted with a gloomy face. Director Ji, oh, no, I should call you Lord. Tang Zheng's voice came from the darkness. Ji Wuxiang's eyes jumped wildly, but he pretended to be surprised and asked, Young Master Tang, what do you mean by that? He still had a sliver of hope. Director Ji, do you still want to quibble? Tang Zheng sneered as he walked out from the darkness. Under the illumination of the fire, his figure was elongated, making him look extremely cold and austere. Ji Wuxiang slightly narrowed his eyes and stared at Tang Zheng, saying, Why should I quibble? It's best if you don't quibble, then openly admit your true identity. Could it be that the Lord of Honor doesn't even dare to admit his identity? Tang Zheng jokingly said. Ji Wuxiang was silent. Xiao Bai, since he doesn't dare to admit it and still has a sliver of hope, then you should stand out and destroy his last sliver of hope. Tang Zheng said through gritted teeth, his voice filled with endless anger. Indeed, he was extremely angry. Because, when he jumped into the basement, he actually found Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai's appearance had changed. The hair all over his body had turned a fiery red, unlike before where there was only a ball of red hair on his forehead. Now, it was like a huge ball of fire. This discovery caused all of Ji Wuxiang's previous lies to collapse, making them seem pale and powerless. Especially when Xiao Bai told him that he was captured by the High Lord. With Tang Zheng's intelligence, it was not difficult for him to guess that Ji Wuxiang was the Lord. This way, many problems would be easily solved. Tang Zheng came to a sudden realization, but he also felt a chill from the bottom of his heart. He had been dealing with a person with ulterior motives all this while, and he had even helped him perfect the heavenly chess. This was almost like wandering around the gates of hell. He believed that once the heavenly chess was completed, that Ji Wuxiang, or rather, the Lord, would definitely not hesitate to get rid of him. When he thought of this, his heart trembled, and his gaze towards Ji Wuxiang became even more unfriendly. When Ji Wuxiang saw Xiao Bai walk out and its appearance, his pupils shrank and his face turned ashen. His aura also underwent a tremendous change. Xiao Bai, you're quite lucky. Xiao Bai snorted and took large strides forward. He gritted his teeth and let out an angry roar, if I'm not lucky, then wouldn't I die in your hands? You can still continue to deceive my master. Tang Zheng sighed inwardly. Not only had he been deceived, even the Empyrean fairy was not an exception. She had once personally tested Ji Wuxiang, but she did not expect that she would not be able to find out anything. In addition, when the High Lord tried to assassinate Ji Wuxiang last time, Tang Zheng had personally seen the two appear in front of him at the same time, so all of his worries had been dispelled. From the looks of it, that was just a carefully arranged scam by Ji Wuxiang. He had purposely lured him into the trap and deepened their relationship, making him help Ji Wuxiang perfect the heavenly chess. This step-by-step arrangement was exquisite beyond compare, one step after another, making it hard for one to guard against. Tang Zheng knew that he did not have this kind of ability, but the Azure Dragon Hall Master was indeed not an ordinary person. When he deceived others, he did not have to pay with his life. How did you escape from the laser? Ji Wuxiang asked doubtfully. He was very confident in his high-tech weapon, but he did not expect Xiao Bai to be unscathed. Moreover, it seemed that he had undergone a mutation and his power had increased by a lot. Wasn't this letting him off too easily? Xiao Bai laughed and said disdainfully, "You want to kill me with just a little bit of laser. You're looking down on me too much. I am Master's pet, how could I be so weak? On the contrary, it was your laser that helped me. I discovered that I can absorb such a powerful energy and it can help me increase my strength." That's impossible. Ji Wuxiang blurted out subconsciously. However, with everything in front of him, nothing was impossible. That was only his own wishful thinking. Tang Zheng suddenly remembered that Xiao Bai had once absorbed the essence blood of a beast king. That was an extremely powerful energy that helped him increase his cultivation. It seemed that he was very tolerant of energy. Although the laser was powerful, it did not harm him and instead helped him. He could not help but let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Xiao Bai had this ability. Otherwise, he would never have been able to see Xiao Bai again, and he would not have been able to see through Ji Wuxiang's true colors so quickly. Ji Wuxiang, in order to deceive me, you spent a lot of effort to write and direct such a good play. I wonder where you found another High Lord? Tang Zheng asked curiously. This was a huge question in his heart. Ji Wuxiang could not have made another High Lord appear out of thin air, so there must be something fishy going on. And that fake High Lord had left a deep impression on him. He was not much different from a real High Lord, and his cultivation was very strong. Ji Wuxiang's lips hooked up into a faint smile as he jokingly said, "What, you can't figure it out?" Tang Zheng was silent. If you can't figure it out, why should I tell you? With your nature, you definitely won't let me go today. Aren't you going to tell me all your secrets before I die? Tang Zheng asked back. Tang Zheng, do you really think I'm as stupid as everyone else? Tell you secrets. Why? Even if you die, I don't want you to know all my secrets. Ji Wuxiang did not fall for Tang Zheng's trick. A cold light flashed in Tang Zheng's eyes. Ji Wuxiang was indeed not an ordinary person. There was a huge difference between him and ordinary people. However, there is one thing you're right about. I definitely won't let you go. You will die without a doubt. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for being too smart. Ji Wuxiang's eyes were filled with killing intent as he coldly said. Ho ho, Xiao Bai's low roar suddenly became louder. If you want to kill Master, you'll have to step over my dead body first. Humph, you weren't my match before, and you're still not my match now. Ji Wuxiang snorted disdainfully. Tang Zheng still had not obtained the information he wanted, so he was not in a hurry to make a move. He rubbed Xiao Bai's head. Xiao Bai understood, but did not immediately make a move. His pair of fiery red eyes were like two suns, fiercely glaring at Ji Wuxiang. Tang Zheng asked, High Lord, your real name is Ji Wuxiang, right? What is your purpose in doing all this with such deliberate planning? Goal. Ji Wuxiang laughed loudly, you can make a bold guess. Tang Zheng's mind raced, and he couldn't help but think of what Ji Wuxiang had once said about the heavenly chess. The heavenly chess was a chess game that used the entire world as a chess game. He had once thought that this was just an exaggeration, but now it seemed that this was Ji Wuxiang's true goal. He wanted to control the entire world. The only tool he had was the heavenly chess. Was the heavenly chess really that useful? Could it help him achieve such a crazy wish? Tang Zheng could not say for sure, because in the past few days, he had gradually realized that the heavenly chess's power was beyond his imagination. If it wasn't for the fact that he needed to use the heavenly chess to absorb more star energy, he definitely would not have pretended to help Ji Wuxiang. You want to control the entire world? Tang Zheng asked probingly. Ji Wuxiang's eyes turned cold, then he smiled meaningfully. You are indeed a smart person. Your ambition is really that great. Tang Zheng was shocked. Is there a problem? Who do you think you are to be able to do such a thing? Tang Zheng said with disdain. Ji Wuxiang did not think much of it and calmly said, if the ancient emperors could do it, why can't I, Ji Wuxiang, do the same? This world is like a plate of loose sand, everyone is doing their own thing, and everyone is thinking of their own benefits. At this time, we need a strong and powerful ruler to unify the 8 wastelands and control the people. Only then will this world truly become strong. Ji Wuxiang's eyes flashed with madness. You're crazy, you're really crazy, you're a complete madman. Tang Zheng was dumbstruck. He never thought that Ji Wuxiang would really have such crazy thoughts. This was simply reversing history. What era was this? This was modern society, who would want to cover the sky with one hand and rule the entire world. Was that even possible? The common people would not agree. Ji Wuxiang was just digging his own grave. Ji Wuxiang seemed to have seen through Tang Zheng's thoughts, and said with a mocking smile, You think I'm crazy? Hee, that's only because you're short-sighted. How can a sparrow know the ambitions of a great swan? What ambitions of a great swan are you talking about? You're crazy. Tang Zheng pointed at Ji Wuxiang, and sternly scolded. You think it's impossible for me? If it was in the past, it would indeed be impossible for me. But now that I have the heavenly chess, the impossible can become possible. Speaking of which, I still have to thank you. It was you who helped me complete this grand undertaking, ha ha ha. Ji Wuxiang laughed complacently. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed. He was filled with regret. He really should not have believed him, and even more so should not have let him off so easily in order to absorb the power of the stars. If he knew it would be like this, he definitely would not have done it. But there was no medicine for regret in this world. He could not help but rejoice. Luckily, because of Xiao Bai, the other party had revealed his foxtail, and he did not help him to truly perfect the heavenly chess. Otherwise, that would be the most tragic thing. In the past, I wanted to recruit you, but in the end, I realized that people like you cannot be recruited. Between you and me, only one of us can remain in this world. Unfortunately, you won't have this chance, and you won't have the chance to see the day when I truly use the world as a chess piece. Ji Wuxiang wrung his hands and sighed. That day will never appear, and I don't want to see it. Tang Zheng said resolutely. Chapter 1086. Lu Wuxin had the same idea as Qi Yu and the others. Lu Wuxin wanted to find the former subordinates of the Yellow Emperor, which meant that he was counting on the souls that had escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb. The only way to find them was to collect information about the unusual situations in various places. The Li Palace was already investigating this matter. This time, Lu Wuxin had also found the chief to seek information about this. The chief looked at Lu Wuxin in surprise, and asked with a frown, Why do you want to know this information? I naturally have my own uses. Lu Wuxin did not reveal his true purpose. The bureau chief hesitated for a moment and did not get to the bottom of the matter. Instead, he glanced at the numerous guards who had chased after them from the entrance. These people were really frightened. The inner palace was so heavily guarded, but these two women had actually barged in as if there was no one around. This was a huge dereliction of duty on their part. If anything were to happen to the chief, they would not be able to atone for it even if they died 100 times. All of you can leave. The chief waved his hand and said in a rather magnanimous manner. The guards all looked at the chief. They did not know if his words came out of his own will or if he was coerced. For a moment, they were hesitant. The chief frowned and said, "Didn't you hear my order?" Seeing that, the guards scattered like birds and beasts, retreating far away. Their expressions were complicated as they stared at them with extreme caution. Lu Wuxin and Yi Meiyu acted as if they did not see this scene at all, as they remained calm and composed. The chief looked at Yi Xuanji thoughtfully and said, "You can go back first." Yi Xuanji was slightly startled. He never thought that the chief would actually order him to leave. He hurriedly said, "Chief, I'll stay behind to protect you." "No need." The chief's attitude was firm, and the way he looked at Yi Xuanji was extremely calm. It was obvious that Yi Xuanji's performance just now had made him extremely dissatisfied. He was unable to stop Tang Jing, nor was he able to stop these two people. Even his own granddaughter was unable to contend against them. This kind of person who held the title of patriarch of the Ye family, how useful could he be to him? Yi Xuanji naturally thought of this as well, and his expression became even more gloomy. He looked deeply at Yi Meiyu and Lu Wuxin, then dejectedly left like a general who had lost a battle, and closed the door. From the beginning to the end, Yi Meiyu did not even look at Yi Xuanji, as if his loss and departure did not cause the slightest ripple in her heart. "Both of you, please take a seat." The bureau chief pointed at the chairs and invited them. Lu Wuxin and Yi Meiyu sat down casually, and Lu Wuxin asked, "Do you have the information we need?" The bureau chief's lips curled into a smile as he said, "I can collect any information in this world. You don't have to doubt this. But there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. What can you do for me if I provide you with information?" After saying that, half of the bureau chief's body leaned against the large chair as he looked at the two of them with sparkling eyes. "You." Lu Wuxin was about to reprimand him for being as blind as a bat for daring to negotiate with her. At the critical moment, Yi Meiyu pulled her back and whispered, "Senior, let me talk to him." Yi Meiyu was very clear about the power and strength that the chief represented. Now that she had already established a huge enemy like Tang Jing, there was no need to break off relations with the chief. On the contrary, cooperation between the two sides was the biggest win-win situation. Moreover, she believed that the chief had long regarded Tang Jing as a thorn in his side. This could be heard from the conversation between Yi Xuanji and Yi Ku. As a core member of the Ye family, Yi Meiyu was naturally more well-informed than the average person, so it was not difficult to speculate this point. Lu Wuxin glanced at Yi Meiyu and chose to remain silent. "Chief, I understand what you mean. What do you want for you to agree to provide us with information?" Yi Meiyu asked. The bureau chief stared at Yi Meiyu for a long time before sighing. Yi Xuanji really made a mistake. It turns out that the most powerful person in the Ye family is you, and the person with the greatest achievements will definitely be you. It was a huge mistake for him to hand over the future of the Ye family to Yi Ku. You are a smart person, so I won't beat around the bush. You are all cultivators, and I also want to become a cultivator. I want to become stronger in the shortest time possible like you. Yi Meiyu said calmly, the chief has excellent vision to actually see this point. In the future, personal strength is the most important thing. So what if you have great power? You can't bring it with you when you are born, and you can't bring it with you when you die. Is there a way to do this? The chief ignored Yi Meiyu's flattery and asked straightforwardly. Yi Meiyu turned to look at Lu Wuxin. Lu Wuxin was expressionless. He hesitated for a moment and said, "Your method is not difficult. There are many ways to become a cultivator. Not only do I want to become a cultivator, but I also want to become strong enough." The chief emphasized. He did not choose to become a martial artist, but a cultivator. Because he had seen too many miracles from cultivators, he naturally believed that cultivators were higher than martial artists. He had always pursued the extreme, and cultivators were the extreme. Lu Wuxi nodded without hesitation, "No problem. Is there really a way?" The chief raised his eyebrows and was rather moved. "This may be difficult for others, but for me, it is not difficult. As long as you find the information I want, everything will be solved," Lu Wuxin said with certainty. "Another question, what do you want this information for?" The chief asked curiously. "The secret to becoming stronger is in this information. If you want to become stronger as soon as possible, then find everything I want as soon as possible." Lu Wuxin didn't try to explain too much, and instead said very calmly. The chief paused for a moment, then slammed the table and said excitedly, "Okay, I will give the order now, and there will be results soon. How do I contact you?" "Just send someone to the Ye family," Yi Meiyu said first. "Another point, we have a common enemy, so our cooperation is a win-win situation. In the future, we will definitely cause a fatal threat and harm to this enemy." Yi Meiyu gritted her teeth and said. The chief looked at her suspiciously and asked, "Who is our common enemy?" "Tang Zhang." "It's him." The chief was obviously shocked. Not only did Tang Zhang threaten the big families, he even extended his claws to the government, to the chief's side. Just now, I knew that the reason the chief sent someone to summon the old man was to deal with him. But now that his wings are growing, ordinary people can't hurt him at all. Only our alliance can give him a fatal blow in the future and take revenge," Yi Meiyu said with killing intent. The chief's heart sank into torment, but he quickly made a decision and hit it off. Seeing the two of them leave, the chief fell into deep thought. His brows furrowed and relaxed at times. In the end, his eyes shone with anticipation as he picked up the phone on the table and gave the order. Lu Wuxin and Yi Meiyu left the courtyard house. When they walked out of the door, they saw Yi Xuanji waiting outside. "Wait a moment." Yi Xuanji walked up and blocked their path. Lu Wuxin looked at him coldly and asked, "Do you want to die?" "I can fulfill your wish." Yi Xuanji's face was pale as he explained awkwardly, "Don't misunderstand, I don't have any hostility, I just want to find out what happened to my granddaughter." After he finished speaking, he turned his head and stared straight at Yi Meiyu. In the end, he had no choice but to connect the dots about the possession that Tang Zhang had mentioned a while ago. Yi Meiyu had suddenly become strong. Could it be that she had been possessed? He was not completely unaware of the matter of possession. He understood that his body had been occupied by an even stronger soul, which was equivalent to a different person. Could it be that the granddaughter who was standing in front of him was another strange soul? Yi Xuanji was shocked by his own thoughts, as if he wanted to distinguish the differences in Yi Meiyu's body. In the end, he sadly discovered that there were too many differences in Yi Meiyu's body. It was as if she had changed into another person. "Meiyu, what's going on? Is this still you?" Yi Xuanji's voice trembled as he asked in a low voice. The corner of Yi Meiyu's mouth curled up as she said, "Of course I'm not the same as before. This is a brand new Yi Meiyu. Didn't you always value that girl Yi Dingdang in the past and treat me as an insignificant and even disgraced woman? Let me tell you today, what Yi Dingdang can't do, I can do. What I can do, Yi Dingdang might not be able to do. I am the true hope of the Ya family." Although Yi Meiyu was strong, she still did not abandon the deep-rooted concept of the Ya family. Instead, it was imprinted deep within her bones. Hearing that, Yi Xuanji thought hard, his eyes widened even more, but even after racking his brains, he still could not figure it out. He was unable to determine if she had been possessed or not, because no one else could have said those words. You haven't been possessed? Yi Xuanji asked, unwilling to give up. Yi Meiyu's eyelids twitched, she glanced at Lu Wuxin from the corner of her eyes, and said calmly, Where did you hear this nonsense from? How could I be possessed? I am Yi Meiyu, the real deal. Then how did you become so powerful? This is all thanks to Master, you won't be able to understand. Yi Meiyu smiled and pretended to be mysterious as she said. Who is your master? For the Ya family to nurture such a powerful person, I, Yi Xuanji, should pay him a visit and express my gratitude. Yi Xuanji rolled his eyes and said sincerely. Master has already passed away, you won't be able to see him. Ah, this is truly a great pity. May I ask what your master's name is? I will definitely remember it in my heart in the future. Yi Xuanji said. Nightmare. Lu Wuxin answered first. Nightmare. Yi Xuanji had even more questions in his heart. He wanted to ask further, but the other party no longer had the desire to continue, and said coldly, Yi Meiyu, let's go. Chapter 1087. Watching Yi Meiyu and Lu Wuxin walk away, Yi Xuanji had a lot of questions, but he didn't have the chance to ask them. He returned to the Ya family in a daze. Yi Ke quickly greeted him and asked, Grandpa, why did the chief summon you so late at night? Yi Xuanji raised his head and glanced at his grandson, his face was full of loneliness, and he didn't say a word. Yi Ke was shocked. She had never seen the old man like this before. She quickly asked, Grandpa, what happened? Xiao Ku, have you noticed anything unusual with Meiyu recently? Yi Xuanji asked. Yi Ke was confused and said, I have been busy with my family business during this time. I haven't seen her for a long time. What happened to her? Did she cause trouble again? Yi Xuanji shook his head in disappointment. She has changed, she is no longer the Yi Meiyu of the past. Grandpa, what the hell is going on? You will know when you see her. After saying that, he walked to his room without looking back. That stalwart back seemed to be a bit stooped, making Yi Ke's eyes jump a few times, and her heart was filled with apprehension. Meiyu, where are you? After hesitating again and again, Yi Ke dialed Yi Meiyu's phone. What's the matter? Yi Meiyu replied coldly. Did you make Grandpa angry again? Come back and apologize to Grandpa. Yi Ke said sternly. He. Yi Meiyu's unscrupulous laughter came over. I apologize to him. Does he have the qualifications? Yi Ke raised her eyebrows and flew into a rage. Yi Meiyu, what are you doing? I will give you half an hour to come back, otherwise, you will have to bear the consequences. Yi Ke, let me tell you, don't talk to me in this tone in the future. Just because you are older than me, you dare to yell at me, right? Let me tell you, I, Yi Meiyu, am no longer the Yi Meiyu of the past. No one in the Ya family can talk to me like this. Yi Meiyu finished speaking and hung up the phone. Yi Ke held the phone and stayed in the same place at a loss. It was unbelievable. What kind of madness did Yi Meiyu have to dare to talk to him like this? He decided to make it clear, so he called her again, but her phone was turned off. No matter what you do, I will find you. Yi Ke's eyes flashed and she clenched her teeth. Tang Jing arrived outside the Go Club in a hurry. Under the dark night, the Go Club seemed very quiet. Whoosh! He leaped and tried to climb over the wall. Bang! However, a huge force rebounded from the wall and coincidentally struck Tang Zhang's body. He was like a cannonball as he was sent flying, ruthlessly crashing into a large tree. He leaped up from the ground like a carp, his eyes overflowing with radiance as he stared fixedly at the walls of the Go Club. Suddenly, his ears twitched slightly as he heard a sound coming from the Go Club. With a creak, the door of the Go Club opened. Someone walked out and looked around vigilantly. When he saw Tang Jing not far away, he was slightly stunned and asked, "Young Master Tang, why are you here in the middle of the night?" Clearly, the other party had expected that the person who had tried to break into the Go Club earlier was Tang Jing. Tang Jing's expression was cold as he asked, "Is President Ji here?" "Yes, please wait a moment, I will invite him." "I will go find him myself." Tang Jing strode into the Go Club. The man wanted to stop him, but he was not Tang Jing's opponent. He could only follow him step by step and said, "Young Master Tang, if there is anything urgent, I will report it. President Ji is resting." Tang Jing had just suffered a loss and felt that the Go Club was not simple. He had not noticed that the Go Club had such a strong protective force. "Where is President Ji's room? I will go find him myself," Tang Jing said loudly. The other party had no choice but to stare. After the High Lord used the non-phase method to trap Little White, he brought it back to the Go Club. Little White looked at him with gritted teeth and said, "Master will definitely come to save me." "Oh, you are looking forward to Tang Jing coming to save you. Stop dreaming, he doesn't know where you are hidden." The Lord sneered. "What is this place?" Whitey rolled its eyes and looked around curiously. "You don't need to know. You are important to Tang Jing. I don't even know where you came from. Why don't you tell me where you came from before you die?" The Lord said. The Scarlet Lunar Beast was useful to the Lord as it could help him communicate with the power of the stars. However, although Xiao Bai was born magical, it was not very useful to the Lord. Leaving it alive would be a huge disaster. Therefore, from the beginning to the end, he did not intend to leave Xiao Bai alive. Xiao Bai was smarter than the Scarlet Lunar Beast and could speak the human language. Once the tiger returned to the mountain, it would leak a lot of information to Tang Jing. This was not a good thing for the Lord. Little White was like a brave warrior ready to die a martyr's death. He stood proudly with his head raised. He stared at the Honorable Lord with disdain and said, "Don't waste your breath. Not to mention that I don't know where I came from. Even if I did, I wouldn't tell you a single word." The Lord stared at Xiao Bai to make sure that it was not lying. He could not help but be surprised. It did not even know where it came from. Then what was its background? He shook his head slightly. It was not important. There would no longer be a Little White in the future, so there was no meaning to its origin. Ordinary weapons can't hurt you, but now is a high-tech society. The power of technology is infinite, so your defense is not omnipotent. The Lord carried Xiao Bai into the depths of the basement. There was a different world under the chess club. It was brightly lit, as if it was daytime. Under the light, many instruments could be seen. There were even a few corpses of demonic beasts. They were tied to the instruments and seemed to have been tortured before they died. Their bodies were covered in blood and they were in a sorry state. Xiao Bai's eyes widened. He stared at everything and said, "You are so ruthless. You actually caught so many demonic beasts without anyone knowing." Ever since the cultivators were expelled, demonic beasts were almost impossible to see. Only after the restrictions in the 10,000 mountains were broken did demonic beasts come and go freely. That is why I had the chance to catch them for research. Even the dragon group led by Xing Feng could catch demonic beasts. Do you think that my Azure Dragon Hall does not have the ability? The Lord could not hide his pride as he boasted. Xiao Bai coldly snorted and said, "You hide too well. If I didn't hide a bit more, wouldn't I have been discovered by you all? The only thing I am proud of in my life is that I am good at hiding. It is not easy for normal people to find out my true identity. This way, I can easily play with others in the palm of my hand. It is funny that those people do not know and think that they have the whole situation under control. The Lord was very pleased with himself. Don't be so long-winded. I will send you on your way now. The Lord fixed Xiao Bai on an instrument. This instrument can emit the most powerful laser in the world. I believe that before you die, you will be able to taste the taste of the laser. Chapter 1088. Xiao Bai was fixed on the instrument. The laser was accumulating energy. Xiao Bai's life was at stake. It was counting down. Suddenly, the sound of a bell rang. The High Lord's expression changed slightly. It was his subordinate informing him that someone had come to visit. He looked deeply at Xiao Bai and muttered to himself, "It seems that I won't have the chance to personally witness your death. Enjoy the taste of the laser." After he finished speaking, he turned around and walked out of the basement in large strides, then gently took off his mask. This time, he changed from the High Lord to Ji Wuxiang. The aura around his body also underwent a tremendous change. So it was Tang Zheng who broke in. Why did he come here in the middle of the night? Ji Wuxiang muttered to himself. Young Master Tang, why are you here? Ji Wuxiang changed into a set of pajamas and greeted Tang Zheng, pretending to be surprised as he asked. When he finally saw Ji Wuxiang, Tang Zheng stopped and asked directly, "Why did I feel the power of the stars descend in Beijing?" Ji Wuxiang's heart jumped. He thought that his senses were really sharp. Ji Wuxiang did not panic in the slightest. He calmly smiled and said, "So young Master Tang is here for this matter. This is because I activated the heavenly chess in an attempt to absorb more power of the stars into the heavenly chess. I hope that the heavenly chess can be perfected as soon as possible and succeed. Don't you have me?" Tang Zheng asked back. It was decided on the spur of the moment in the middle of the night. After all, I can't trouble young Master Tang with everything. Ji Wuxiang said with a smile, his excuse flawless. Tang Zheng looked at him suspiciously, his brows slightly furrowed. Ji Wuxiang's expression did not change. He looked at him with a face full of smiles. Then what is the effect of activating the heavenly chess? Ji Wuxiang shook his head in disappointment. I am unable to communicate with the power of the stars. Even if I can activate the celestial chess and make the power of the stars descend from the 9 heavens, I am unable to precisely channel the power of the stars into the celestial chess. Therefore, without young Master Tang's help, would not have been able to succeed in this huge project. Ji Wuxiang's words were sincere and persuasive. Tang Zheng stared at him with burning eyes, but he didn't express whether he believed him or not. He asked, "President Ji, do you know my pet Xiao Bai?" Ji Wuxiang nodded calmly. "Of course, I know. I've heard that there are quite a few divine abilities as well. Xiao Bai is missing. He was kidnapped." Tang Zheng's tone suddenly dropped and became cold. What? Ji Wuxiang raised his eyebrows in surprise. How could this be? Who in the capital is a match for Xiao Bai? President Ji has so much power in the capital. Could it be that you have no news at all? Ji Wuxiang let out a long sigh and said, "My power is only limited to normal matters. Regarding you cultivators, I am indeed powerless. But young Master Tang, don't worry, I will definitely do my best to track down Xiao Bai's whereabouts. Do you have any concrete clues?" Ji Wuxiang was very enthusiastic. Concrete clues. Tang Zheng muttered to himself, "Number 1 died at the scene, does that count? Number 1. Isn't he one of the chief's people? Could it be that the chief sent people to kidnap Xiao Bai?" Ji Wuxiang was very surprised. "Do you think that's possible?" This. Ji Wuxiang hesitated and bitterly laughed. "I can't guess the thoughts of these people in power. President Ji is too modest. If even you can't guess, then others can't. Ji Wuxiang bitterly smiled and said, now that I have lost my power, even the people behind me are in danger. If I could truly guess the thoughts of those people in power, then I wouldn't have fallen to this point. Tang Jing stared at Ji Wuxiang from beginning to end, but after staring for a long time, he still couldn't find any clues. His reaction was very steady and everything was within reason, making Tang Jing very passive. President Ji's information is very fast. Don't tell me you don't know what the blood moon is. Tang Jing changed the topic and asked. Ji Wuxiang was slightly startled and his expression became strange. He stared straight at Tang Jing and said with a smile, young Master Tang should be more clear about the reason for this matter, right? Oh, why do you say that? Since young Master Tang asked, then I will definitely tell you the truth. I just received news that the blood moon was caused by the scarlet lunar beast beside you, and not by Tian Qi, right? Ji Wuxiang's gaze became thought-provoking. Tang Zhang's head moved. He didn't expect the other party to admit it so frankly. If Ji Wuxiang flatly denied it, then Tang Zhang's suspicion towards him would definitely increase. Because, with Ji Wuxiang's information, it was impossible that he didn't know about this matter. If even the chief knew about it, then there was no way this could be hidden from Ji Wuxiang. But he didn't expect the other party to admit it so frankly, which made Tang Jing a little passive. For a moment, he was a little uncertain about Ji Wuxiang. Young Master Tang, you really have too many rare and exotic beasts around you. This scarlet lunar beast can actually cause the blood moon, and it's said that once you consume its inner core, you can even absorb the essence of the sun and moon. It's equivalent to Tang Sang's meat. You have to protect it well and don't let it get caught by bad people, Ji Wuxiang reminded him, seemingly full of kindness. You're really well informed. Don't tell me you don't have any thoughts after hearing this news. Tang Jing probed. Ji Wuxiang was stunned for a moment, then he laughed, young Master Tang, you really know how to joke. We're friends, and the scarlet lunar beast is your pet. Why would I do that kind of thing? From Ji Wuxiang's reaction, Tang Jing didn't find the information he wanted, and he couldn't directly start a fight because he didn't have any solid evidence, so there was no solid reason to do so. But Xiao Bai had disappeared without a trace, and he couldn't do anything about it. How could Tang Jing just let it go like that? Boom! Suddenly, there was a violent explosion, and the ground shook. Both of them were shocked at the same time. What happened? Tang Jing asked in surprise. Ji Wuxiang's expression suddenly changed, and there was a violent fluctuation in his eyes. Creak! The door was suddenly pushed open, and someone rushed in and shouted, President Ji, something happened. Ji Wuxiang had already guessed a thing or two, so he said, young Master Tang, I still have something to do. You can send young Master Tang off first. Tang Zheng had an idea, and said, President Ji, did something big happen? It's nothing, just a small matter. I can handle it. Ji Wuxiang's expression flickered. Tang Jing caught on to this point, and he was even more determined to stay. He smiled and said, President Ji, just now you said that we're friends, and we should help each other. No matter if it's a big or small matter, if I can help, of course I won't shirk my responsibility. After saying this, he directly walked out of the room and found that the outside was already in chaos. A part of the Go Club's building had collapsed, and many people were quickly running over. Looking at Tang Zheng's back, Ji Wuxiang's eyes flashed with a cold light, but there was nothing he could do. He could only chase after him and say, young Master Tang, don't worry. Let's see what happened first. Tang Jing pointed at the collapsed building and said, President Ji, could it be that there was a bomb buried in this Go Club, and it accidentally exploded, causing this area to collapse? I occasionally like to do small experiments like this. It might have been caused by accident, but it's not a big deal. We'll just rebuild it. Ji Wuxiang waved his hand and said without a care in the world. But Tang Zheng had already found some clues from his expression. This was definitely not as simple as the explosion caused by a small experiment as Ji Wuxiang had said. There was definitely something else going on. The more Ji Wuxiang tried to hide it, the more interested Tang Zheng was in finding out the details. Of course, he wouldn't leave just like that. He coldly snorted in his heart and walked over with large strides. There was actually a large hole in the collapsed ruins. Smoke and dust rose from it, but one could vaguely see that there was another world beneath the ruins. Tang Zheng didn't say a word and jumped into the ruins. Ji Wuxiang's face turned ashen. His subordinates all looked at him, asking what they should do. Ji Wuxiang fiercely stomped his foot and hurriedly chased after him, climbing into the ruins. What exactly was beneath the ruins? Ji Wuxiang couldn't be more clear. Beneath the ruins was the basement where Xiao Bai was imprisoned. The explosion must have been an accident when the laser killed Xiao Bai. As for why this accident happened, he couldn't figure it out for the time being. However, he was still worried that Tang Zheng would find some clues and deepen his suspicions, or even immediately turn against him. From Tang Zheng's reaction tonight, he was already suspecting him. If the last straw was added and the two sides completely broke off, then it would be a terrible nightmare for Ji Wuxiang. Before Heavenly Chess was completely completed, he had to rely on Tang Zheng. If they broke off, then both sides would completely fail. The Hope laser didn't just kill Xiao Bai, it also destroyed its corpse, turning it into air. Ji Wuxiang secretly hoped. The energy of the laser was too powerful. Ordinary creatures could be directly turned into air, and Xiao Bai shouldn't be an exception. Ji Wuxiang prayed silently and chased after him. He found that the basement had turned into a huge pit full of holes. All the equipment had been blown up, so it was very dark. Coupled with the fact that it was covered in dust, he couldn't even see his fingers if he stretched out his hand. His subordinate quickly turned on the flashlight, and finally saw a trace of light. Ji Wuxiang shouted, "Young Master Tang, where are you?" There was no answer, and there was no sign of Tang Zheng. Everyone looked at each other and walked in the dark. They didn't see anything special wherever the light passed. An ominous premonition surfaced in Ji Wuxiang's heart. Could it be that Tang Zheng was one step ahead of him and found some clues? He gradually clenched his fists, and there was a trace of killing intent in his eyes. If that was really the case, then he definitely couldn't let Tang Zheng live today. He definitely couldn't let the tiger return to the mountain. As for perfecting Heavenly Chess, he had to think of another way. The Scarlet Lunar was a good breakthrough. If they really broke off, then no matter what, he had to capture the Scarlet Lunar. Once he consumed the Scarlet Lunar's inner core, he would naturally be able to communicate with the power of the stars and perfect Heavenly Chess. Chapter 1089. Amidst the dead silence and darkness, a glimmer of light suddenly appeared. Ji Wuxiang and the others all stopped in their tracks and focused their eyes. It was a ball of fire, bright red, redder than blood. At the same time, an angry roar sounded in their ears and a terrifying aura swept over. Whoosh! A fireball, like a meteor from outer space, quickly smashed over. The person at the front bore the brunt of the attack and was directly enveloped by the fireball. With a hiss, he turned into a wisp of steam, dissipating into the air. But there were no cries of alarm. Ji Wuxiang and his subordinates' pupils shrank at the same time as they stared unblinkingly at the fireball in the darkness. "Young Master Tang!" Ji Wuxiang shouted with a gloomy face. "Director Ji, oh, no, I should call you Lord." Tang Zheng's voice came from the darkness. Ji Wuxiang's eyes jumped wildly, but he pretended to be surprised and asked, "Young Master Tang, what do you mean by that?" He still had a sliver of hope. "Director G, do you still want to quibble?" Tang Zheng sneered and walked out from the darkness. Under the illumination of the firelight, his figure was elongated and looked very stern. Ji Wuxiang slightly narrowed his eyes and stared at Tang Zheng, saying, "Why should I quibble? It's best if you don't quibble. Then openly admit your true identity." Could it be that the Lord of Honor doesn't even dare to admit his identity? Tang Zheng jokingly said. Ji Wuxiang was silent. "Xiao Bai, since he doesn't dare to admit it and still has a sliver of hope, then you should stand out and destroy his last sliver of hope," Tang Zheng said through gritted teeth, his voice filled with endless anger. Indeed, he was extremely angry. Because, when he jumped into the basement, he actually found Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai's appearance had changed. The hair all over his body had turned a fiery red, unlike before where there was only a ball of red hair on his forehead. Now, it was like a huge ball of fire. This discovery caused all of Ji Wuxiang's previous lies to crumble, making them seem pale and powerless. Especially when Xiao Bai told him that he was captured by the High Lord. With Tang Zheng's intelligence, it was not difficult to guess that Ji Wuxiang was the High Lord. In this way, many problems were easily solved. Tang Zheng came to a sudden realization, but he also felt a chill in his heart. He had been dealing with a guy with ulterior motives all this while, and had even helped him perfect the heavenly chess. This was practically a walk in the park between the gates of hell. He believed that once the heavenly chess was completed, then Ji Wuxiang, or rather, the High Lord, would definitely not hesitate to get rid of him. When he thought of this, his heart trembled, and his gaze towards Ji Wuxiang became even more unfriendly. When Ji Wuxiang saw Xiao Bai walk out and its appearance, his pupils constricted and his face turned ashen. His aura also underwent a tremendous change. "Xiao Bai, you're quite lucky." Xiao Bai snorted and took large strides forward. He gritted his teeth and let out an angry roar, "If I'm not lucky, then wouldn't I die by your hands? You can continue to deceive my master." Tang Zheng sighed inwardly. Not only had he been deceived, even the Empyrean fairy was not an exception. She had personally tested Ji Wuxiang before, but she did not expect that she would not be able to find out anything. In addition, when the High Lord tried to assassinate Ji Wuxiang last time, Tang Zheng had personally seen the two appear in front of him at the same time, so all of his worries were dispelled. From the looks of it, it was only Ji Wuxiang's meticulous plan to lure him into the trap and deepen their relationship, making him help Ji Wuxiang perfect the heavenly chess. This step-by-step arrangement was extremely exquisite, one step after another, making it hard to guard against. Tang Zheng knew that he did not have this kind of ability. The Azure Dragon Hall Master was indeed not an ordinary person, and he could easily deceive others. "How did you escape from the laser?" Ji Wuxiang asked suspiciously. He was very confident in his high-tech weapon, but he did not expect Xiao Bai to be safe and sound. Moreover, it seemed that it had undergone a mutation and its power had increased by quite a bit. Wasn't this letting it off easy? Xiao Bai chuckled and said disdainfully, "You want to kill me with just a little laser. You're underestimating me too much. I'm Master's pet, how can I be so weak? Instead, it was your laser that helped me. I found out that I can absorb such a powerful energy and it can help me increase my strength." "That's impossible," Ji Wuxiang blurted out subconsciously. But everything was placed in front of him, nothing was impossible. That was just his own wishful thinking. Tang Zheng suddenly remembered that Xiao Bai had once absorbed the blood essence of a beast king. That was also a very powerful energy that helped it increase its cultivation. From the looks of it, it was very tolerant of energy. Although the laser was powerful, it did not harm it and instead helped it. He could not help but let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Xiao Bai had this ability. Otherwise, he would never be able to see Xiao Bai again, and he would not be able to see through Ji Wuxiang's true colors so quickly. Ji Wuxiang, in order to trick me, you spent a lot of effort last time, writing and directing such a good show. I wonder where you found another High Lord? Tang Zheng asked curiously. This was a huge question in his heart. Ji Wuxiang could not have conjured another High Lord out of thin air, so there must be something fishy going on. And that fake High Lord had left a very deep impression on him. It was not much different from a real High Lord, and its cultivation was very strong. Ji Wuxiang's mouth hooked up into a faint smile as he jokingly said, "What? You can't figure it out?" Tang Zheng was silent. If you can't figure it out, why should I tell you? With your nature, you definitely won't let me go today. Don't tell me you won't tell me all your secrets before I die. Tang Zheng asked back. Tang Zheng, do you really think I'm as stupid as everyone else? Tell you secrets. Why? Even if you die, I don't want you to know all my secrets. Ji Wuxiang did not fall for Tang Zheng's trick. A cold light flashed in Tang Zheng's eyes. Ji Wuxiang was indeed not an ordinary person, and there was a huge difference between him and the average person. However, there is one thing you are right about. I definitely won't let you go. You will die without a doubt. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for being too smart. Ji Wuxiang's eyes were filled with killing intent as he coldly said. Roar, roar, Xiao Bai's low roar suddenly became louder. If you want to kill Master, you'll have to step over my dead body first. Humph, you weren't my match before, and you still aren't my match now. Ji Wuxiang snorted. Tang Zheng still had not obtained the information he wanted, so he was not in a hurry to make a move. He rubbed Xiao Bai's head. Xiao Bai understood, but did not immediately make a move. He only stared at Ji Wuxiang with a pair of fiery red eyes that were like two suns. Tang Zheng asked, High Lord, your real name is Ji Wuxiang, right? What is your purpose in doing all this with such deliberate planning? Goal. Ji Wuxiang laughed loudly, you can make a bold guess. Tang Zheng's mind raced, and he couldn't help but think of what Ji Wuxiang had once said about the heavenly chess. The heavenly chess was a chess game that used the entire world as a chess game. He had once thought that this was just an exaggeration, but now it seemed that this was Ji Wuxiang's true goal. He wanted to control the entire world. The only tool he had was the heavenly chess. Was the heavenly chess really that useful? Could it help him achieve such a crazy wish? Tang Zheng could not say for sure, because in the past few days, he had gradually realized that the power of the heavenly chess was beyond his imagination. If it wasn't for the fact that he needed to use the heavenly chess to absorb more star energy, he definitely wouldn't have pretended to help Ji Wuxiang. You want to control the entire world? Tang Zheng asked probingly. Ji Wuxiang's eyes turned cold, then he smiled meaningfully, you are indeed a smart person. Is your ambition really that great? Tang Zheng was shocked. Is there a problem? Who do you think you are to be able to do such a thing? Tang Zheng said disdainfully. Ji Wuxiang did not think much of it, and said calmly, if the ancient emperors could do it, why can't I, Ji Wuxiang, do it too? The entire world is like a plate of loose sand, everyone is doing things their own way, and everyone is scheming for their own benefits. At this time, we need a powerful ruler to unify the entire world and control the world. Only then will the world truly become powerful. Ji Wuxiang's eyes flashed with madness. You're crazy, you're really crazy, you're a madman. Tang Zheng was dumbfounded, he didn't think that Ji Wuxiang would really have such crazy thoughts. This was simply reversing history, what era was this? This was modern society, who still wanted to cover the sky with one hand and rule the entire world. Was that even possible? The common people wouldn't agree, Ji Wuxiang was digging his own grave. Ji Wuxiang seemed to have seen through Tang Zheng's thoughts, and said with a mocking smile, "You think I'm crazy? Haha, that's only because you're short-sighted. How could a sparrow know the ambitions of a swan? What kind of ambitions are you talking about? You're crazy." Tang Zheng pointed at Ji Wuxiang, and scolded sternly. "You think it's impossible for me? If it was before, it was indeed impossible, but now that I have the heavenly chess, the impossible can become possible. Speaking of which, I still have to thank you. It was you who helped me complete this grand undertaking. Ha, ha, ha." Ji Wuxiang laughed proudly. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed. He was filled with regret. He really shouldn't have trusted him, and even more so shouldn't have let him off so easily in order to absorb the power of the stars. If he knew this would happen, he definitely wouldn't have done this. But there was no medicine for regret in this world. He couldn't help but rejoice. Luckily, because of Xiao Bai, the other party revealed his foxtail, and he didn't help him to truly perfect the heavenly chess, otherwise, that would be the most tragic thing. In the past, I wanted to recruit you, but in the end, I realized that people like you can't be recruited. Between you and me, only one of us can remain in this world. Unfortunately, you won't have this chance, and you won't have the chance to see the day when I truly use the world as a chess piece." Ji Wuxiang said with a sigh. "That day will never appear. I don't want to see it." Tang Zheng said resolutely. Chapter 1090. Hearing that Ji Wuxiang actually had designs on the scarlet lunar beast, Tang Zheng's eyes flashed with a cold light as his killing intent soared to the sky. Roar! Xiao Bai roared as his forehooves flew as if he was walking on the wind. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Ji Wuxiang, his sharp claws directly grabbing at Ji Wuxiang. "Evil creature, I didn't kill you just now, now die." Ji Wuxiang's four eyes widened as his aura changed greatly. He pointed his finger in the air and the chi of heaven and earth suddenly changed. Tang Zheng's head trembled as he felt the chi of the Go Club undergo an earth-shattering change. The originally calm air violently fluctuated as it gathered towards Xiao Bai from all directions. "Xiao Bai, be careful," Tang Zheng hurriedly warned. Boom! With a loud sound, an invisible force hit Xiao Bai and sent Xiao Bai flying through the air. Ji Wuxiang's lips curled into a cold smile as he said complacently, "This is the Go Club, my territory. I am the ruler, killing you is as easy as flipping my hand." As soon as his voice fell, the surrounding Go players began to move. These seemingly powerless people's auras also underwent an earth-shattering change. It did not mean that they had immediately become experts, but in their movements, it was as if they were two different people. Tang Zheng slightly narrowed his eyes and said meaningfully, "In this Go Club, not only did you, Ji Wuxiang, hide deeply, even your Go players are not to be outdone." Ji Wuxiang coldly laughed. "Do you really think that the flying guillotine is the most powerful force in my Azure Dragon Hole?" Wrong. Completely wrong. That was New Era's invention. Although it was very powerful at the time, the times have changed and the flying guillotine is no longer able to adapt. I am at the forefront of this era, so of course I have to increase the fighting strength of the Azure Dragon Hole. The Go players that I have trained are the greatest results. Ji Wuxiang's fingers moved, and in the end, he pointed at the sky and roared, "Activate the celestial chess, the power of the stars, heed my command." The chess player's footsteps became faster and faster, and his figure actually became blurry. In an instant, the power of the stars descended from the 9 heavens. Tang Zheng could feel it very deeply. This power of the stars was much stronger than the one he had summoned when he activated the celestial chess during the day. Obviously, they had been holding back during the day. The mighty power of the stars permeated the small Go Club like seawater, causing Tang Zheng's movements to become much slower. A sword light flashed, and the battle's soul sword appeared. It flew out of Tang Zheng's hand, splitting apart the vast and mighty power of the stars, and flew straight towards Ji Wuxiang. Ji Wuxiang did not move. He smiled as he watched the War Soul Sword get closer and closer, his eyes filled with disdain and ridicule. Seal. Ji Wuxiang uttered a simple syllable. The astral energy suddenly shrank and gathered in front of him, forming an invisible and sturdy wall. Boom! The War Soul Sword stopped in front of the invisible wall, unable to advance any further. Break! A voice burst out from Ji Wuxiang's mouth. The War Soul Sword flashed and flew out, directly flying out of the Go Club. Tang Zheng's gaze turned cold, and he shouted, "Come back!" With a wave of his hand, an invisible force pulled the War Soul Sword, and the War Soul Sword flew back with a "so" sound. In addition, there was another sound that was as fast as the wind, like a meteorite from outer space. It was a ball of flame, but this ball of flame was a little bigger, and in an instant, it enveloped the entire Go Club. This was Xiao Bai's counterattack. After it was sent flying, it did not suffer any serious injuries. Instead, it aroused its ferocious nature. It bared its teeth, opened its small mouth, and spat out fire as it flew over. Immediately, the Go Club turned into a sea of fire. The buildings crackled and popped, and then they were quickly evaporated by the flames. Xiao Bai had evolved, and the power of the flames had obviously increased. The ordinary buildings had almost no resistance to the power of the flames. Seeing this, Ji Wuxiang flew into a rage and shouted, "Rain!" Whoosh! The rain poured down. The rain was formed by the condensation of the astral energy in the air. It was not real rain, but the effect was the same. In an instant, it was as if a floodgate had been opened, and it immediately filled the small Go Club. The strangest thing was that the area covered by the rain was only the Go Club. The outside of the Go Club was still as dry as before. It was as if this part of the world and the outside were two different worlds. Tang Zheng looked at this scene in amazement. This was obviously Ji Wuxiang's new move, and it had not been like this before. A thought immediately appeared in his mind: call the wind and summon the rain. This was the legendary method of the gods. Of course, he also understood that this was the effect of the astral energy. In fact, he could also control the astral energy, and because of the ancient Clear Heaven Scroll, his control of the astral energy was not weaker than Ji Wuxiang's. Therefore, he thought of something and activated the ancient Clear Heaven Scroll. He spread his fingers and tried to communicate with the astral energy. Ha! Suddenly, his eyes trembled and widened in disbelief. What was going on? Why was there no reaction from the astral energy? Seeing his reaction, Ji Wuxiang laughed maniacally. Ha ha ha, Tang Zheng, you overestimate yourself. You still want to control the astral energy. Seeing that Ji Wuxiang had seen through his intentions, Tang Zheng had an idea and asked suspiciously, "Did you do something?" Ji Wuxiang smiled mysteriously. "Of course, do you really think I will let you control the astral energy? I am not a fool who will do anything for you. The celestial chess will listen to my orders. Other than me, don't even think of touching the astral energy." Tang Zheng suddenly realized that he was absorbing the astral energy because Ji Wuxiang needed his help. Therefore, he deliberately did not control the celestial chess and blocked off the astral energy. Now that there was no need to rely on Tang Zheng, of course he would not let Tang Zheng take advantage of him. Especially since Tang Zheng's control of the astral energy was above Ji Wuxiang's, this made Ji Wuxiang very wary. If he allowed Tang Zheng to control the astral energy, it would be like a guest stealing the master's thunder. Ji Wuxiang would not watch as the result of his decades of planning was given away. Indeed, Tang Zheng's control of the astral energy was far better than Ji Wuxiang's, especially in the aspect of handling the details. Ji Wuxiang could barely control the astral energy to do some big things. As for things like guiding the astral energy to pour into every part of the celestial chess, which involved many details, Ji Wuxiang could not do anything about it. This was why he needed to rely on Tang Jing. Tang Zhang's expression changed abruptly. It seemed like his good days of absorbing the astral energy had come to an end, and he did not count on it anymore. In that case, he might as well directly destroy the celestial chest this time. That way, wouldn't Ji Wuxiang be unable to get what he wanted? In the past few days, he had understood that the celestial chess not only relied on the chess players, but also the chess games in the hall were an important part of it. If he destroyed these chess games, wouldn't he be able to destroy the celestial chess? Even if he couldn't kill Ji Wuxiang, he could still give him a fatal blow, especially if he could destroy his crazy plan. This was the most important thing. With a thought, the heaven-shocking bow and the sun-shooting arrow appeared in Tang Zhang's hands, aiming at the chess game in the hall from afar. Amidst the fire, the chess club's buildings were all burned to the ground, turning into ashes. Only the few chess games not far away remained standing, without any damage, which made it even more unusual. Tang Jing firmly locked onto the chess game, and roared, "Break!" Whiz! The sun-shooting arrow turned into a ray of light and shot over in an instant. Ji Wuxiang immediately saw through Tang Zhang's intentions, his expression changed, and he bellowed, "Stop!" The mighty power of the stars instantly converged in front of the shooting sun arrow from all directions, blocking its attack. Tang Zhang's eyes flashed, and the corner of his mouth curled up into a faint smile, and he shouted coldly, "Disperse!" The shooting sun arrow shone brightly. 1 turned into 2, 2 turned into 4, and finally became 9 shooting sun arrows. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Even if Ji Wuxiang tried to stop it, it was too late. The 9 sun-shooting arrows could be combined into one, and could even be separated on their own, all depending on Tang Zhang's thought. Ji Wuxiang obviously did not expect this. When he saw it, he was in a panic, and it was too late to stop it. Other than 1 sun-shooting arrow being blocked, the other 8 sun-shooting arrows were shot in 8 different directions towards the numerous chess games. Boom! 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 The chess game could block the fire, but it couldn't block the sun-shooting arrows. With a series of explosions, the chess game turned into pieces of rubble, and smoke and dust flew everywhere. The black and white chess pieces scattered all over the ground, crackling like rain hitting banana leaves. The chi activity in the world changed, and the astral energy disappeared completely. The chess players all seemed to have suffered a heavy blow, and their faces were pale. Some of them even had blood flowing out from the corner of their mouths. Ji Wuxiang's veins popped out on his face, and he roared like a ferocious ghost, "Tang Jing, what have you done?" Looking at Ji Wuxiang's ferocious appearance, Tang Zhang laughed instead. "Ji Wuxiang, didn't you say you wanted to use the celestial chess to unify the world? Now that I have destroyed the celestial chess, let's see what ability you have to unify the world. I was deceived by you, and I helped you by channeling the astral energy into the celestial chess. Now that I have destroyed it, it can be considered as me taking responsibility for my own actions." Ji Wuxiang's voice became hysterical, and it was like a ghost's wail and wolf's howl coming from the depths of hell. It was eerie and terrifying, and it made one's heart tremble. But in Tang Zhang's ears, this voice contained too much anger. Instead, it was like heavenly music coming from the 9th heaven, incomparably pleasant to the ear. "Tang Zhang, I will tear you into pieces and cast you into the 18th level of hell." Ji Wuxiang roared like a madman, and his whole body trembled with anger. Tang Zhang sneered, and muttered in his heart, "I have seen the 18th level of hell a long time ago. It is useless for you to use this to scare me." But he also knew that because the celestial chess was destroyed, Ji Wuxiang would definitely counterattack even more crazily, and his attack would probably not be inferior to the attack just now. Therefore, he secretly made preparations to welcome Ji Wuxiang's stormy attacks. Ji Wuxiang walked to the ruins of the chess game, and looked at the ruins scattered all over the ground, and the particularly conspicuous black and white chess pieces. The corners of his mouth kept twitching, and then, he suddenly raised his head and stared at Tang Jing from afar. Chapter 1091. Facing Ji Wuxiang's hateful gaze, Tang Jing remained calm and indifferent. Tang Jing, do you really think that without these chess pieces, you can really ruin my grand plan? Ji Wuxiang asked gloomily. Tang Jing replied with a question, then what else do you have now? Ji Wuxiang began to move. He walked step by step towards Tang Jing from the ruins. Without saying a word, he spread out his 10 fingers and suddenly clenched them into fists. He roared, "Rise!" The ground began to tremble with a buzzing sound. The dust on the ground flew up, and even the pieces of the chess pieces flew up and rapidly gathered together. Tang Jing's eyes widened as he looked at this scene in disbelief. He asked, "What are you doing?" Ji Wuxiang laughed. "It's true that you destroyed my celestial chess pieces, but if the celestial chess pieces were so easily destroyed, would it still be the celestial chess pieces? How could the results of my painstaking efforts over so many years be destroyed so easily?" As he spoke, the scene in front of him changed drastically. The pieces actually gathered together quickly, and the chess pieces were restored. Shocking! Tang Jing was too shocked. This was almost the same as bringing someone back from the dead. "How did you do it?" Ji Wuxiang laughed loudly. "This is the miraculous effect of the power of the stars." "How much do you know about the power of the stars? How can it compare to my research on the power of the stars?" Tang Jing indeed did not know much about the power of the stars. When he saw this scene, he was deeply shocked by the power of the stars. The power of the stars was a higher-level existence than the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Not only was it more powerful in terms of energy, but it also had many miraculous properties that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth did not have. From the looks of it, his plan to destroy the chess pieces did not succeed. The celestial chess pieces were still as before, and Ji Wuxiang's crazy plan could still be carried out. Tang Jing's expression became extremely gloomy. He knew that this was not good. Ji Wuxiang walked towards Tang Jing with a sinister smile on his face. Although he made it sound easy, it wasn't the case at all. He could indeed control the power of the stars to restore the chessboard, but the consumption was too great. After this, his power had been greatly reduced, which was why he was so angry earlier. What Tang Jing didn't know was that when he saw the opponent's imposing manner, his heart shivered and he subconsciously took 2 steps back. In the end, he couldn't retreat anymore, so he said sternly, "Since you want to kill me, then come." With that, the heaven-shocking bow, shooting sun arrows and war soul sword appeared at the same time, aiming at Ji Wuxiang. With a heaven-shaking roar, the 2 holy artifacts launched a powerful attack at the same time. Whoosh! With 2 sounds of breaking through the air, the shooting sun arrow and war soul sword flew in front of Ji Wuxiang at the same time. A cold light flashed in Ji Wuxiang's eyes as he snorted disdainfully, "You overestimate yourself." With a point of his finger, the power of the stars between heaven and earth was used by him, advancing side by side. Boom! Boom! With 2 loud sounds, the power of the stars struck the shooting sun arrow and the war soul sword, causing the 2 divine weapons to fall to the ground with a clatter. Ji Wuxiang was a 9th-grade martial king, and his cultivation was originally higher than Tang Jing's. Although he had used up a lot of energy just now, he was still better than Tang Jing. Roar! Xiao Bai roared and rushed forward again. A ball of flame shot out from her small mouth towards Ji Wuxiang. Ji Wuxiang quickly dodged, staring straight at Tang Jing and Xiao Bai. He gritted his teeth and said, "I don't have time to play with you, go and die." Thump. Ma. What? 3 simple syllables came out of Ji Wuxiang's mouth. When Tang Jing and Xiao Bai heard this, they shouted at the same time, "Be careful." 6 words. This was one of the attacks that Tang Jing feared the most. He and Xiao Bai's bodies were filled with endless killing intent, but they could not do what Ling Er and Li Xiaotian did. Their hearts were as calm as still water, so they would definitely be affected. They had already discovered that their speed had slowed down and the air seemed to have frozen. They could clearly feel the power of the stars converging from all directions, but they were powerless. Boom! Tang Jing and Xiao Bai flew out at the same time, spitting out blood from their mouths. Xiao Bai's fiery red eyes dimmed and Tang Jing's face instantly turned pale. Ji Wuxiang proudly gave a cold smile. "Now do you understand the difference between us?" Tang Jing wiped away the blood and felt his body stiffen uncontrollably. He coldly said, "Ji Wuxiang, is this all you've got? This skill is enough to kill you." When his voice fell, Ji Wuxiang opened his mouth again, and 3 simple syllables jumped out of his mouth in succession. Pa. Me. E. 6 words. 6 words poured out like a thunderclap. When the 6 words were completely blurted out, his aura underwent an earth-shattering change. Tang Jing and Xiao Bai coincidentally couldn't control themselves and turned into puppets, unable to move. Tang Jing inwardly sighed, this time he was doomed. Not only did Ji Wuxiang have the 6-word maxim, he also had the help of the heavenly chess. Even though Tang Jing's power increased by a lot and he also had Little White's help, he was still slightly inferior to the 6-word maxim. When Ji Wuxiang used the non-phase method before, he couldn't move. But now, with the help of the celestial chess, he could control the power of the stars to attack. The power of the stars was not affected by the non-phase method and could freely shuttle between this side of the world. Therefore, the power of the stars was like thousands of sharp arrows, whizzing toward Tang Jing and Xiao Bai. Bang! Bang! The 2 men took another blow and spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood, but they were powerless and had no way to resist. They were like wooden blocks, letting Ji Wuxiang attack them non-stop. Suddenly, he felt a strong evil aura spread out, and his heart trembled. Ji Wuxiang's face suddenly changed. He narrowed his eyes and asked, "What's going on?" The non-phase method was specialized in restraining evil aura, especially people with evil aura. Under the attack of the non-phase method, they couldn't move, just like puppets. The evil aura couldn't flow freely in the attack range of the non-phase method, but this evil aura spread out on its own. Such an abnormal thing made Ji Wuxiang feel like he was facing a great enemy. Tang Jing moved his head and understood what was going on. This was the evil aura of the Shura in the Sumra world. Usually, the Shura had been suppressed by him with the Kitagarbha Sutra. Whenever the Shura was about to get out of control, he would recite the Kitagarbha Sutra, and the Shura would immediately calm down. At this moment, the Shura was obviously revived, but he was seriously injured and his life was hanging by a thread. There was no way to recite the Kitagarbha Sutra to suppress the Shura. Therefore, the Shura's murderous aura spread directly from the Sumra world. It could be seen how powerful the Shura was. Tang Jing was faintly worried. The Shura was so strong, without the suppression of the Kitagarbha Sutra, what if he broke through the restriction of the Sumra world? Could the Shura break through the restriction of the Sumra world? Tang Jing didn't know the answer. Seeing Tang Jing silent, Ji Wuxiang flew into a rage. "Tang Jing, what are you doing? There was a trace of panic in his words. Roar. Suddenly, a roar sounded. This sound came out of nowhere, like a sudden clap of thunder, making people tremble. This sound was full of endless evil aura. Where did this sound come from? Ji Wuxiang shouted. The next second, he firmly locked onto Tang Jing, because this sound clearly came from Tang Jing, but it was obviously not Tang Zheng's voice, and also not Xiao Bai's roar. Ji Wuxiang suddenly had an ominous premonition in his heart. Ji Wuxiang, didn't you boast that the celestial chess and non-phase method are very powerful, and that no one can break through them? Tang Jing thoughtfully asked. Of course. Ji Wuxiang stood proudly and raised his head high. I'm afraid that may not be the case. Tang Jing had a flash of inspiration and an idea. Anyway, Ji Wuxiang has completely controlled the situation. If there is no unexpected situation, Xiao Bai and I can't escape from his evil hands. Since the Shura has revived, why don't we let the Shura deal with Ji Wuxiang and see if the arrogant Ji Wuxiang has the ability to deal with the Shura? Of course, Ji Wuxiang couldn't succeed. Dizong of Goguryeo spent a lot of effort to suppress the Shura. Ji Wuxiang didn't have the Ksitigarbha Sutra, so how could he suppress the Shura? With this thought in mind, he no longer deliberately suppressed the Ashura. With a shift of his mind, the Sumra world opened up. A terrifying murderous aura soared into the sky, enveloping the entire Go Club in an instant. It even overshadowed the mighty power of the stars. Ji Wuxiang's face completely changed. He realized that something was wrong and shouted to stop. Tang Jing, what are you doing? Stop it. Tang Jing revealed a mysterious smile and said, Ji Wuxiang, are you afraid? What do I have to be afraid of? What ability do you have to make me afraid? Ji Wuxiang raised his head like a proud peacock. Hee, is that so? Tang Jing sneered. Suddenly, his face changed and he shouted, Shura, come out. His voice fell, and the evil aura soared to the sky, almost suffocating people. Heaven and earth changed color, and the wind and clouds above the Go Club changed. A cloud floated in from somewhere, blocking all the starlight and moonlight. A breathtaking aura spread out, and the Go players cried out in alarm and staggered back. Ji Wuxiang's face also became gloomy. He glanced at the sky and then stared at Tang Jing. Roar! With a roar, a huge figure appeared out of thin air and landed in the Go Club, looking down at the crowd. Ah, ah, ah! Exclamations came one after another, and the Go players were really frightened. Even Ji Wuxiang took a step back and looked at the scene incredulously. Shura, what is Shura? Ji Wuxiang really didn't know Shura, and he knew nothing about the ghost realm. But from the aura that Shura exuded, he felt it clearly. This was a strong person, very strong, and he had never seen such a strong person before. What is Shura? You will see it in a while. Tang Jing said coldly. Impossible, my non-phase method is particularly effective in restraining evil aura. His evil aura is so strong, how can he not be affected by non-phase method? Ji Wuxiang asked. Tang Jing was also surprised that Shura could not be affected by non-phase method. This was an unexpected surprise, and it could give Ji Wuxiang a fatal blow. Chapter 1092. Ji Wuxiang stared at this scene in disbelief. This was completely beyond his understanding, and his eyeballs were about to pop out of their sockets. Whoosh! The Ashura saber suddenly appeared and danced in the air. The aura between heaven and earth was shattered by this saber strike. Seeing the Ashura saber slashing toward him, Ji Wuxiang's soul, which was about to leave his body, finally returned to his body. His entire body trembled as if he was facing a great enemy. He quickly jumped to the side and narrowly dodged this attack. Gotcha! A huge gully appeared in the ground. It was so deep that the bottom could not be seen. It was as if it led to the core of the earth, and black gas was continuously emitting from it. Ji Wuxiang could escape, but there was one chess player who did not have this ability. He did not even have the slightest chance to escape. He was instantly cleaved into two halves from head to toe by the Azura saber. Blood splattered everywhere, and the scene was extremely horrifying. Ji Wuxiang's eyes widened as he roared furiously, "You actually killed my chess player." The chess player was a non-renewable resource. It was the result of many years of nurturing by Ji Wuxiang, and it was extremely important to him and the heavenly chess. Seeing his chess player die under the Azura saber, and Ji Wuxiang was powerless to do anything, one could imagine the fury in his heart. The corners of Tang Zhang's lips curled up. He thought to himself, although I destroyed your chess game, you can still use the power of the stars to rebuild it. Now that the Azura has killed your chess player, do you think you can still revive the dead? Obviously, Ji Wuxiang did not have this ability. Thus, one could imagine the monstrous fury in his heart. It was as if it was going to erupt from every pore of his body. Ji Wuxiang leaped up and charged toward Tang Zheng. He roared, "Tang Zheng, you must die." Tang Zheng did not counterattack at all. This was because the Azura had already made the first move. The Azura did not listen to anyone's orders. When he stood between Ji Wuxiang and Tang Zheng, and Ji Wuxiang was about to counterattack, he naturally treated Ji Wuxiang as his primary target. Thus, he waved the Azura saber without hesitation. With a whoosh, the Azura saber drew a black arc in the air and instantly attacked Ji Wuxiang. This time, Ji Wuxiang did not dodge. Instead, he was ready to counterattack. He chanted the 6 words and activated the power of the stars at the same time. The 6-word proverb instantly leaped out of his mouth. An invisible force bound the Shura, attempting to imprison him. However, the Shura's murderous aura was too strong. The 6-word proverb did not have the effect it should have. The attack collapsed and disappeared without a trace. In addition, the power of the stars descended from the sky. It even penetrated the layers of black clouds and enveloped the Azura. The Azura immediately felt uncomfortable. The power of the stars was indeed extraordinary. Not only did it not stop the Azura, but it also aroused his ferocity. A cold light suddenly appeared in his eyes. It was as if it was solid and shot out from his huge eye sockets. He stomped his foot fiercely. Bang! The earth trembled as if there was an earthquake. The ruins on the ground were shaken and flew high into the air. Whoosh! The Azura saber danced, forming a dazzling black saber light. The ruins were enveloped by this saber light. It was like an invincible divine weapon. In the blink of an eye, it attacked Ji Wuxiang. Ji Wuxiang's face paled. Under the pressure of the Azura saber, he could feel the threat of death. It was more realistic than any other time he had felt it. This time, he did not expect to counterattack. Instead, he tried to escape. However, the Azura did not give him the chance. The Azura saber chopped down on his head. Blood seemed to be about to appear. However, blood still did not appear. This was because Ji Wuxiang raised his hands and grabbed the Azura saber. With his cultivation, it was impossible for him to grab the Azura saber like this. He gathered the power of countless stars in his hands. Therefore, he used all his strength to barely grab the Azura saber. However, was this the end? Of course not. He had underestimated the Azura's strength. Ji Wuxiang's huge eyes stared at Ji Wuxiang. He felt as if he was being stared at by the god of death. A gloomy aura of death appeared in his heart. The Azura looked at Ji Wuxiang with contempt. It was as if he was saying that he dared to fight him one-on-one with such little strength. Was he not courting death? A cold light flashed in his eyes. Killing intent filled the air. The Azura saber flickered. Its power increased greatly. It was even more terrifying than the weight of Mount Tai. In an instant, the power was transmitted from the saber to Ji Wuxiang's palms. Paw, paw. Two sounds of bones breaking rang out. Ji Wuxiang's palms immediately drooped down. They were soft. They had actually been broken by the power transmitted from the Azura saber. Ji Wuxiang's muscles and bones were extremely strong. This was beyond doubt. However, facing the Azura's attack, Ji Wuxiang could not withstand the slight increase in power. This was enough to show the difference in strength between the two sides. It was practically the difference between heaven and earth. Ji Wuxiang also realized this. He did not care about the pain. He cried out inwardly and staggered backwards. It was as if he had turned from a mighty and unyielding general into a fleeing stray dog. He was unwilling to give up. He stared at the Azura intently as if he wanted to see through him. But after looking for a moment, he could not find any clues at all. In his knowledge, there had never been an Azura. After all, the Azura in the world of spirits and souls was only known to a few people at the top of the hierarchy. Not to mention the people's understanding of the Azura. Tang Jing knew how powerful the Azura was. Seeing that the Azura had firmly locked onto Ji Wuxiang, he was secretly delighted. He and Xiaobai retreated far away. However, he did not take the opportunity to escape. In that case, it would be harder for Ji Wuxiang to catch up with him. But he did not leave. Because he knew how powerful the Azura was. Initially, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva had left the Azura under his care and had even passed on the Ksitigarbha Sutra to him. He had also repeatedly warned him, so Tang Jing understood that he definitely could not sit idly by and do nothing towards the Azura. If he were to leave, the Azura would leave and commit a grave mistake. He did not have the qualifications or ability to deal with this matter. Therefore, he must stay and watch Azura's every move closely. Ji Wuxiang saw that Tang Jing did not escape. Instead, he was watching him fight with the Azura with interest. The flame in his heart was even more indescribable, as if it was going to ignite him. Tang Jing, you have a helper, but you still want to see me make a fool of myself. I won't let you do as you wish. Ji Wuxiang cursed hysterically in his heart. Obviously, he had guessed Tang Jing's real purpose wrong. But it was no longer important. Because he had escaped from the Azura's Azura sword in a panic, there was no extra chance to fight back against Tang Jing. Ji Wuxiang was like a stray dog, dodging left and right. As for the effect of the non-phase method, it had long been destroyed by the Azura. The other Go players also moved. They took large strides and tried to attract more star power to come down, so as to completely defeat the Azura. The Azura shook his head. He did not put the intentions of these people in his eyes at all. He just saw a group of people dodging left and right. He was very angry. With a slash of the Azura sword, another Go player died under the Azura sword. The celestial chess immediately lost 2 Go players. The star power falling from the sky suddenly decreased, and Ji Wuxiang's attack and counterattack were greatly reduced. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.